Chapter 749. Zhang Xiaobao really did arrange for people to do it. Building this kind of bridge was very fast. First, people would use boats to pull the hemp rope across. When the time came, both sides would be stretched, and the hemp rope would be gradually thicker. When a certain thickness was reached, one end would be replaced with an iron chain. When the time came, both sides would be fixed, and wooden planks would be laid. It would probably take less than half a month. As long as one was willing to spend money, there was no need to worry about not being able to make the iron chain. At that time, the price would be half of the ferry price. If the ferry lowered the price for transporting goods, the bridge would also lower the price. It was necessary to let the people know that it was safer, faster, and cheaper to cross the river than to cross the bridge. Of course, at this time, Zhang Xiaobao did not forget the impact of the bridge on the ferry industry. He was prepared to wait for the people to get used to the bridge before letting the ferrymen stop what they were doing and come over to help guard the bridge. Some people were willing to change careers to fishing. After arranging everything, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan returned to the boat behind Xiaobei, and the others were on. Previously, they had been discussing the details of the emperor's travel expenses with Old Man Pai and the others. As soon as they returned to the boat, Xiaobei came over angrily. "What's wrong, Xiaobei? Did someone bully our Xiaobei? Why are you unhappy?" Zhang Xiaobao crouched down and opened his arms. Xiaobei was still angry, but he did not refuse his brother's embrace. He leaned on his brother's arm and said, "It's you. I asked someone to make the clothes, but you didn't let me." "Really? There was such a thing?" Xiaobei, when you mentioned the clothes, I just remembered that my back is whiter than my front. What should I do? I was worried. But in the end, your sister was the best. Guess what she thought of?" Zhang Xiaobao indeed did not agree. At this time, he pretended not to know. He changed the topic and began to talk about his own matters. As expected, Xiaobei's goal was not the clothes. Hearing his brother's words, he blinked his big eyes and asked, "Really? Really? If you don't believe me, Xiaobei, look. Is my back whiter than my front?" As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he put the clothes in his pocket for Xiaobei to see. There were faint ink marks on his chest and dirt. Xiaobei looked around and nodded. "It's true. What idea did you come up with?" "I won't tell you for now. Let everyone guess. There will be a prize for guessing right. Go get little Yuan and the rest here," Zhang Xiaobao said to Xiaobei. When Xiaobei happily ran over to call for help, Zhang Xiaobao slapped his body with all his might. The mud sticking to his body was too uncomfortable. Wang Wan finally couldn't help but laugh. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "I really don't know what you're thinking. You could have just told Xiaobei what happened tomorrow. Why did you have to torment yourself like this? That won't do. To you and me, this is a small matter that can't be any smaller. But to children, this is a huge matter. Many children, when they grow up, their earliest memories stop at the age of 5 or 6. Do you know why? One reason is because there are problems with brain development when they are young. The other reason is that before the age of 5 or 6, they always live the same life. What they do every day doesn't change much. Adults who don't understand this logic want their children to be more stable and obedient in order to save trouble. Any obedient child is a good child. Many people think this way, but it's actually very selfish. Children are independent from the moment they appear in this world. They belong to themselves. Raising them isn't the same as restricting them. I can't control others, but I can control Xiaobei and the rest. I'll let them have a lively and colorful childhood. Children are the continuation of adults' hopes, but they are definitely not the inheritance of adults' personalities. Adults who want their children to realize their unrealized ideas are unqualified adults. Zhang Xiaobao said seriously to Wang Wan. This was what he thought, and it was exactly what he did. Wang Wan and Wei Wei smiled. Then let's hold a discussion for them. How can we make a white place turn black, or make a black place turn white? You're right. Children also have their own dreams. We just need to provide them with the environment to create their dreams as much as possible. They're not another Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The innocent Xiaobei didn't know how much effort his brother and sister had put in for them. He was happy to find Xiao Yuan, Xiao Zhu and Xiao Hai. He didn't forget to pull De Nan, Xiao Nan, and the other 3 people. The group of little guys ran over to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The discussion of black becoming white, and white becoming black began just like that. 2 days later, when the color of Xiao Bei's right arm was about the same as the color of his left arm, the group finally entered the capital. Old Man Pai and the other 2 people went to the Joy House to rest, while Zhang Xiaobao led the group of little guys into the imperial palace. The guard sent them to the door and stopped. The group of little guys put on cute and beautiful clothes and followed closely behind Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They walked all the way to Xingqing Palace curiously. Li Longji, who had been waiting for a long time, asked people to prepare a lot of snacks and juice. He changed into casual clothes and glanced at the entrance of the palace from time to time. Xiao Bei and the others. The boy wore a black tuxedo with a white flowery shirt and a bow tie. The girl wore a princess dress with a beautiful bow tie in front of her chest. There was no need for people to announce their arrival. They directly entered the palace. As soon as they saw each other, they began to greet according to the etiquette taught by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Naturally, there was no cupping of one's fist or kneeling. The boy put one hand on his chest and bowed. The girl just squatted and bowed. They said together, "We greet Imperial Uncle." Li Longji had never seen such a fun thing before. Looking at the serious looks on the faces of these little fellows, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He stood up and walked forward while saying, "Rise, rise. Come, let Uncle take a good look." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan hadn't bowed yet. When they saw Li Longji coming over, they treated it as if they had already bowed. Wang Wan stood beside her younger brother and sister to accompany them. Zhang Xiaobao ran to Gao Lisher's side and took out a bag of small abalones that he had made. He said, "Adoptive father, we came in a hurry and didn't prepare any other gifts. Eat some abalones." Gao Lisher didn't care about what Zhang Xiaobao wanted to give him. He didn't lack money. As long as he saw his adopted son, he would be happy. He took the small abalones and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "My son, Xiao Bei and the others' clothes? I made them for fun. Don't they look good on you?" Zhang Xiaobao replied, "They look good, just like the dolls you sell." Exai and Air and the others didn't come? Gao Lisher looked at Xiao Bei and the others and also liked them. Children were always so fun, especially children who pretended to be adults. It was even more interesting. Exai and Air and the others originally followed the emperor to the capital, but they didn't want to enter the palace and went to work in their shop. They have a doll shop here. When the emperor goes to Jinyang, they will follow him. Zhang Xiaobao replied. At this time, Li Longji didn't care about Zhang Xiaobao and Gao Lisher. He hugged and kissed them one by one. He found that they were even more fun than his own children. When his children saw him, they were usually very scared. Some even felt that he was a stranger. This group of little guys was different. Each and every one of them was obedient and not afraid of strangers. They always had a smile on their faces. It was very pleasing to see. After kissing each of them once, Li Longji stood up and took Xiao Bei's hand. He asked, "Xiao Bei, I heard that you dared to wear official robes without my permission. Do you know your crime?" If Li Longji asked other children, they might not know what to say. However, he chose Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei was the most sociable. After hearing Li Longji's words, Xiao Bei wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he showed a nervous expression. He blinked his big eyes and said, "Can I only wear it with Uncle Emperor's permission?" "Of course," Li Longji replied with a straight face. Xiao Bei and Uncle Emperor should discuss it and allow Xiao Bei and the others to wear it. Xiao Bei was injured last month, and it hurts a lot. Uncle Emperor, what do you think? As Xiao Bei spoke, he felt so wrong that he was about to cry. His eyes were red. Li Longji just wanted to joke. When he saw that Xiao Bei was about to cry, he immediately nodded and agreed. "Okay, Xiao Bei, if you want to wear it, then wear it. I have agreed. I will let you wear it. Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty." This time, there was no need for anyone to tell them. The children, who always listened to stories from their older brothers and sisters, used the words that often appeared in other dynasties and bowed to Li Longji. Li Longji was stunned at first. After pondering for a while, he felt that these 4 words were quite good. They sounded very comfortable, and should be thanking him for his kindness. He hurriedly said, "You may dispense with the formalities. Xiao Bei, tell Uncle Emperor, How did you get injured? Does it still hurt? It doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't hurt anymore after Big Brother blows on it. It's more or less healed. It's just that I can't bruise it anymore, and can't use too much force. I have to continue recuperating for another month. Uncle Emperor, are we still going to prepare the goldfish pouch and official robes ourselves? Xiao Bei obediently shook his head and waved his arms to show that he was almost healed. He then asked one last question. Li Longji was stunned. What goldfish pouch? Becoming an official? Uncle Emperor personally agreed to confer us an official. We have already thanked you. Xiao Bei said with a look that said, Are you going to go back on your word? Confer an official? Confer what official? Li Longji was even more confused. Disbanded officials. Lower third rank and fourth rank disbanded officials, just like Big Brother and Big Sister. Last time, Xiao Bei was wearing a third rank official robe because Big Sister was wearing it. Big Brother was wearing a fourth rank official robe, so Big Brother Xiao Yuan and the others were also wearing fourth rank official robes. Uncle Emperor, you just said that you will allow us to wear this robe. So naturally, we have to have an official. Uncle Emperor, you can rest assured. Xiao Bei doesn't care if you want an official robe and goldfish pouch. Xiao Bei can prepare them myself. Really, Big Brother Xiao Yuan and the others are the same. Isn't that right, Xiao Yuan? Xiao Bei tried his best to fight for his own benefits. He finally caught Li Longji saying the wrong thing. A monarch's words were not to be taken lightly. The opportunity was right in front of him. Xiao Yuan and the others weren't stupid and immediately thanked him again. However, Li Longji was dumbfounded. He was just teasing his children. How could he give away a bunch of third rank and fourth rank officials? If he really gave them away, that would be terrible. Chapter 750. Just when Li Longji didn't know what to say, Xiao Bao said, Xiao Bei, why are you so insensible? Uncle Emperor is just joking with you. You didn't do anything. If he really gave you a third or fourth rank official, how would the officials in the world be convinced? I'm not like a sixth or seventh rank official. It's fine no matter how many ranks you get. Is it so easy to get a third or fourth rank official? Your sister and I used our lives to get those positions. Why aren't you apologizing? Xiao Bei looked at his brother in confusion. Suddenly, he saw his brother winking at him. He remembered what his brother said and immediately said, Uncle Emperor, Xiao Bei didn't put his life on the line. I don't want a sixth or seventh rank official position. I'll ask for one after I try. From today onwards, I won't wear an official uniform anymore, even if it looks good. Li Longji really couldn't give Xiao Bei and the others such a high-rank official. Just as he was thinking of a way to change the topic, Zhang Xiaobao's words settled the matter. It didn't seem to be a good idea whether he was given a rank or not. When he wanted to turn around and give Gao Lishir a look, Xiao Yuan in the crowd also cooperated and said to Gao Lishir, Brother Xiao Hai, actually, I think it's okay to have a seventh rank official. At most, when no one is looking, you can still wear purple clothes. When you meet an official, you can change into a seventh rank uniform. When the little guys heard Xiao Yuan's words, they all looked at Li Longji with yearning. Xiao Bei also said as if he was talking to himself, Can a seventh rank official be given? Your Majesty, on the way here, I discussed with County Deputy Wang. We're going to use some money to build a few bridges between the Yellow River and the Tsaotsiu Canal. We hope your Majesty will agree. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao spoke again. When Li Longji heard Zhang Xiaobao's words and looked at County Deputy Wang standing there with a smile, he finally knew what to do. I didn't expect Minister Zhang to have such a plan. Okay, I agree. I hope Minister Zhang and Minister Wang can build the bridges firmly. Xiao Bei, if a third or fourth rank official is really not enough, I have a seventh rank official. How about I give you the title of Jigua Commandant? He is a 7th grade Wusan official. Li Longji originally didn't want to give Xiao Bei and the others any official positions, but when Zhang Xiaobao said that he wanted to build a few more bridges, it played a key role. After weighing the money needed to build the bridges, and then considering the salary of a 7th rank official, he had no choice but to agree to it. Thank you, Uncle Emperor. Xiao Bei knows that Uncle Emperor doesn't have much money. Xiao Bei doesn't care about what Uncle Emperor wants. I'll go back and do it myself. Uncle Emperor, we're both 7th ranked. How can Xiaobei care about others? This time, Xiaobei didn't follow her brother's instructions. She said whatever came to her mind. Of course, not to mention a rank 7 official, even a rank 1 official. As long as he makes a mistake, Xiaobei, you just have to take care of him. Uncle will help you, so there's no need to be afraid, Li Longji said in his heart. If you encounter an official who bullies you, you don't need to be an official. Your brother and sister will take care of them. Who dares to bully you? I almost lost a rank 3 or rank 4 official as soon as I met him. Xiaobei nodded happily. Suddenly, she put on a straight face and said, I impeached the county magistrate of Yongle County. I don't know what his name is, but he asked the refugees to come over and help with farming. He said that he would give the refugees farmland, but after the spring plowing, he began to drive them away. When I passed by Yongle County on the boat, I gave some of the refugees food. I impeach him. When Xiaobei said this, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were stunned. The two of them really didn't know about this matter. During those few days, the two of them had been discussing the details of the emperor's travels with Old Man Pai and the others. They only heard the servants report that Xiaobei gave people food when they were resting at the docks. This was very normal. There were many poor people, and Xiaobei liked to give people things. He didn't give a lot, but it was very useful. They didn't expect that when the boat stopped at Yongle County, when they were about to enter the canal, there would be such a thing. If they had known about this situation, they would have dealt with it themselves. Xiaohai and the others also nodded to prove it. Xiaobei, oh Lieutenant Jigua, is what you said true? Li Longji asked Xiaobei, but his eyes were looking at Wang Wan. Wang Wan quickly thought about it and felt that Xiaobei and the others couldn't be lying, so she nodded and said, I think it's about right. Send someone to check. Li Longji narrowed his eyes. If it was someone else impeaching, he could consider why the county magistrate did this, and who was behind it. But today it was Xiaobei, a 3-year-old child, who was impeaching. For a group of children to remember something so clearly, no matter if the county magistrate didn't do a good job, or didn't hide it well, he couldn't be let off lightly. Lisher, who do you think should investigate this? Li Longji wasn't going to let this county magistrate go. Yongle County was too close to the capital. Today, the cute little fellows had joined hands to impeach the county magistrate as soon as he became an official. How big of a matter was it to make these sensible and well-behaved little fellows hate it so much? Hearing this, Gao Lisher thought for a moment and replied, I think it's better for the crown prince to personally handle this matter. With this, Li Longji understood which side the county magistrate of Yongle County stood on. He looked at Gao Lisher with praise and said, Lisher, you go arrange this matter. I understand, Gao Lisher replied. Zhang Xiaobao also felt sad for the county magistrate of Yongle County. The county magistrate of Yongle County probably didn't know what happened until he died, let alone that he fell at the hands of a group of 3-year-old children. Xiaobei and the others were happy. Xiaobei waved her little fist and said to Li Longji, Uncle Emperor is really a good emperor. That county magistrate is really bad. Oh, when I gave the refugees food to eat, it was such a big steamed bun that one person could eat 3 of them. Uncle Emperor, how hungry do you think they are? Lisher, tell the crown prince to handle this matter strictly. Li Longji's face darkened. What kind of lie could a 3-year-old child say? Seeing Xiaobei gesturing at the big steamed bun, he added another order to Gao Lisher. Gao Lisher nodded, and immediately went to find the crown prince. He didn't forget to look at Xiaobei and the other little fellows. He thought to himself that the people from the Zhang family and Wang family were all killers of officials. They already knew how to impeach at such a young age. If they grew up in a few years, they probably wouldn't have a good time with any corrupt officials they met. Xiaobei, you have contributed to the impeachment. What reward do you want? Li Longji pulled Xiaobei in front of him and kissed her. Xiaobei blinked her eyes. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. She wanted more benefits, but she felt that it was impossible. When her brother came, he said that she couldn't casually ask for anything else. After thinking for a while, just as Li Longji was about to help her out, Xiaobei finally spoke. Xiaobei doesn't want any reward. I just want Uncle Emperor to let the people of Great Tang live good lives. This was what Xiaobei often said when she played with the children in the county. At this moment she was using it. If it were an adult Zhang Xiaobao or Wang Wan who said this, Li Longji would praise them and then say some official words. After all, it was too difficult to let the people of Great Tang live good lives. It involved more than just money. But when these words came out of Xiaobei's mouth, Li Longji was moved. Children were always the most innocent. Whatever the adults said, the children would listen. For her to say such words meant that the adults in her family had taught her a lot. Hearing Xiaobei's words and thinking about what the Zhang family and Wang family had done over the years, Li Longji sighed and said to Xiaobei, "How about this? There are many things that we cannot see or hear. How about I appoint you as imperial governors? If you meet someone that both of you think can be impeached, you can impeach that person." There was no official position of imperial governor, but they could be imperial governors. This could be said to have a rank, but there were no normal ranks. This was because all imperial governors could be called governors, but they didn't have a rank. Starting from rank 3 to rank 9, all imperial governors could be called governors. What Li Longji meant was that he had given the Zhang family and Wang family the power to impeach others without a rank. When an imperial governor impeached someone, it didn't matter even if the impeachment was wrong. Other than sending people to investigate, the person who was impeached would have to provide evidence himself. If it was only an imperial governor, then the impeachment would be carried out in the imperial court. If it was a local imperial governor, then the impeachment would be carried out at different levels. Now that they had this imperial governor, then the Zhang family and Wang family could carry out the impeachment to the provincial government first. If the provincial government didn't do anything or didn't investigate, then they could immediately carry out a cross-level impeachment to the capital. They could also impeach the local imperial governor. If they used this well, they could directly find out the person behind the local imperial governor, and it would be a legitimate one. Xiaobei didn't understand what this meant. He only knew that in the future, he could take care of things that he didn't like. If the other party's official position was high, then he could get Xiao Yuan and the others to work together. Even if it was the title of imperial governor, they could impeach the high-ranking official. Uncle Emperor, Xiaobei will definitely take good care of others. As long as I see someone bullying the common people, I will deal with him. If he dares to fight back, I will let big brother and big sister beat him up. Xiaobei took the initiative to kiss Li Longji, making a promise to Li Longji. That's right. If anyone dares to bully Xiaobei, we will let Xiaobei's big brother and big sister beat him up. Ha ha ha. Li Longji picked Xiaobei up and spun him around, then laughed loudly and put him down. Li Longji was really too happy today. It wasn't because of the official, but because of Xiaobei's words that would let the common people of Tang live a good life. Since the Zhang family and Wang family could teach Xiaobei like this, it was reassuring. The most frightening thing was that the Zhang family and Wang family betrayed him. If other people betrayed him, he could send troops to suppress them, and there wouldn't be many losses. However, if the Zhang family and Wang family betrayed him, then the consequences would be unimaginable. The surrounding palace maids and eunuchs also heard this conversation. Some were impressed, some felt that Xiaobei and the others were cute, and some felt that Zhang family and Wang family were good. However, all of them had the same thought, and that was that in the future, unless the emperor personally gave the order, no one would dare to provoke the Zhang family and Wang family. Chapter 751. Li Longji happily ate a meal with Zhang Xiaobao and his younger siblings. The meal was not bad. The little ones were not like the others who were reserved and did not dare to eat. They ate enthusiastically, causing Li Longji to eat a lot as well. At night, Zhang Xiaobao and the others naturally had to go back. Xiaobei and the others all received a set of 7th-ranked robes and an additional goldfish bag. This was given to them because Xiaobei said that it looked good. Li Longji was finally generous for once. It was not easy. During the meal, Zhang Xiaobao kept talking about where to build the bridge. Compared to the price of the bridge, this temporary set of official robes was much cheaper. The guards guarding the door had not been changed yet. When they saw that the group of people who went in was a group of officials when they came back, they were all dumbfounded. The seventh-ranked official robes were worn by a group of children. If they were not in the palace, they would definitely think that someone was wearing them blindly. How many people might not be able to reach the seventh-ranked in their entire lives? There were many eighth-ranked and ninth-ranked officials. Some of them even passed the imperial examinations and were still eighth-ranked officials in their old age. Were the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families so powerful that they could become officials just by coming in and coming out? Of course, these guards did not know that as soon as Xiao Bei became an official, he had already impeached the Yongle County magistrate. He had already sent people over and was waiting for the county magistrate to provide evidence himself. This time there was really an official, not the kind who wore clothes to pretend. Xiao Bei was so happy that he did not want to take the carriage and insisted on walking to the savant's restaurant. The official robes were really beautiful on him. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and did not object. It was a good opportunity to let the people in the capital know how powerful the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family were. Now both families were officials, even Danan and the others. After walking for more than 2 hours, when they were about to reach the savant's restaurant, Xiao Bei and the others were still so excited that they did not feel tired at all. They ran up and down the street, causing the officials who occasionally passed by to give way. Even the fourth-ranked and fifth-ranked officials did not dare to compete with Xiao Bei and the others. That had nothing to do with the rank of the official. Even though Xiao Bei and the others were seventh-rank officials, their goldfish bags and age had already explained the problem. A 3-year-old seventh-rank official versus a 40-year-old fifth-rank official. Who was more powerful? When they arrived at Savant's restaurant, Old Man Pai and the other two were stunned when they saw Xiao Bei's official robes. Grandpa Bai, have you eaten? Today, Big Brother said that he was going to cook a table full of dishes for us. Xiao Bei said as he skipped in front of Old Man Pai and opened his arms to let him hug him. Old Man Pai picked Xiao Bei up and carefully looked at his clothes and goldfish bag. He asked, Xiao Bei, when did you change your clothes? I changed them after I saw Uncle Emperor. I am now a seventh-rank official, the kind that is scattered. Together with them, we are the imperial censor governor. When we came back, Big Brother said that we can impeach from the bottom up. If the people below us make a mistake, as long as the people above us don't immediately take care of it, we can impeach the people above us all the way to the capital. Isn't that awesome? Xiao Huai hugged Old Man Pai's neck and said with a smile. Old Man Pai was stunned for a moment. He looked at the clothes of the other little guys and nodded numbly. Awesome, really awesome. Did His Majesty give you all scattered officials? A seventh-rank official, and he gave you the title of Imperial Censor Governor? Yes, Uncle Emperor is awesome. I personally impeached the Yongle County magistrate. I don't even know his surname yet, but Uncle Emperor asked Uncle Gao to find that crown prince to investigate. That day, I gave out more than 1,000 steamed buns and many salted vegetables. That Yongle County magistrate deserved to die. Xiao Bei nodded in response. He even said the question that Old Man Bai didn't ask. Hearing Xiao Bei's words, Old Man Pai sighed and began to mourn for the Yongle County magistrate. He could have offended anyone, but why did he have to be targeted by the Zhang family and the Wang family? At this time, the waiter of Savant's restaurant also heard Xiao Bei's words and saw the official robes that Xiao Bei and the others were wearing. He changed his original calm and smiling appearance and shouted loudly, "Ah!" and ran into the restaurant. Miss Xiao Bei and the others are officials now. Shopkeeper, Miss Xiao Bei and the others have come back from the palace wearing the seventh-rank official robes. Quickly get someone to prepare delicious food. Miss Xiao Bei likes to eat garlic and cucumbers. There were still many customers eating in the restaurant. When they heard the waiter shouting like this, they were first surprised because the waiter of Savant's restaurant had always been very steady. Then they were angry. Did a seventh-rank official have to be like this? In a place like the capital, was a seventh-rank official considered an official? However, when Xiao Bei and the others came in wearing official robes, the customers who were dissatisfied with the waiter, who shouted and shouted just now, all shut their mouths. The people eating could tell at a glance that they were 3 or 4 years old children. Then they thought about what the waiter said just now. They came from the palace. Motherfucker. A 3 or 4 year old child is a seventh-rank official. Motherfucker, how can we live? Motherfucker. I'm not jealous, it's really motherfucker. Immediately, a person eating noodles on the first floor softly shouted. The other customers were also stunned. A 7th-rank official was not rare in the capital, but a 3- or 4-year-old child, becoming a 7th-rank official, was no longer a problem in the capital. They knew that there was a high-ranking official, but they couldn't immediately become one at such a young age. Even if they were high-ranking officials, they couldn't be high-ranking officials at the same time. How many high-ranking officials could be high-ranking officials? Moreover, there were also the goldfish bags that the children were playing with in their hands. Since they came from the palace, it naturally couldn't be fake. After receiving the news, the shopkeeper of Savant's restaurant also hurried over. When he saw the 7th-rank official robes and goldfish bags on Xiao Bei and the others, he suddenly cried. With a plop, he knelt in front of Xiao Bei and sobbed, "The heavens have eyes. My Zhang family and Wang family don't have to worry anymore." "Xiao Bei, what do you want to eat?" "Uncle Zhang, don't be like this. Quickly get up. I'll eat whatever Uncle Zhang makes." The happy Xiao Bei was shocked. He stretched out his arm and tried to help the kneeling shopkeeper up. The shopkeeper, who didn't want to get up, suddenly remembered that Xiao Bei's arm had just been injured some time ago. He was afraid that it would be damaged again, so he immediately stood up and wiped his tears. He asked Xiao Bei, "Xiao Bei, your official is?" The people around them who were eating also craned their necks to listen. "Uncle Emperor gave it to me. Originally, I wanted a 3rd-rank or 4th-rank official, but Big Brother said that the official position was too high. First, I asked for a lower rank, and now I have a 7th-rank official. A disbanded official who doesn't keep his word. If it was Big Brother and Big Sister who impeached him, there wouldn't even be a need to investigate." When Xiao Bei was supporting the shopkeeper, she was hugged by the shopkeeper who stood up. She pouted and explained to the shopkeeper regretfully. The shopkeeper used his other hand to pinch himself hard. After he woke up, he nodded and said to Xiao Bei, "That's right. Xiao Bei, you can't be arrogant. It's really unreasonable for someone to investigate a mere county magistrate. Who is going to investigate? Do we need Savant's restaurant to help us inform them?" The shopkeeper thought that the little young master and Xiao Bei were using Xiao Bei to impeach him. So when he asked Xiao Bei, he was asking Zhang Xiaobao if he should help. Savant's restaurant was not small now. When Zhang Xiaobao saw the shopkeeper looking over, he shook his head and said, "There's no need. Cuckoo and I don't know about this matter. His Majesty has already asked the Crown Prince to investigate. Xiao Bei's dish will be braised beef marrow today. Go and arrange it." "Yes." The shopkeeper put Xiao Bei down and turned to greet them. However, there was a storm in his heart. From the little young master's words just now, he knew that Xiao Bei's impeachment had directly bypassed the little young master and Xiao Bei. In the end, the emperor was angry and asked the crown prince to control his own people. Not all the people eating there did not understand anything. Some people even recognized Zhang Xiaobao. When they saw him and heard what he said, they immediately understood what was going on. He had brought his younger siblings to the imperial palace, and when they came back, they were all officials. The people eating on the first floor finally learned something. It was the first time they had heard of a 3 to 4-year-old 7th-ranked official. Of course, they did not know that Xiao Bei was actually not 3 years old. It was just that he was usually trained well and had enough nutrition, so he was a little older. Xiao Bei happily smiled sweetly at the people eating around him and prepared to go upstairs. Savant's restaurant was originally 3 floors, but now it was 4. The space on the 4th floor was a little smaller, only half the size of the 3 floors below. After all, it had not been rebuilt yet. It was all wood, so the space on the 4th floor could not be too big. When Xiao Bei returned home, he wanted to go to the 4th floor to eat, but just as he reached the stairs, he was brushed by someone who ran down. Xiao Bei dodged quickly. The person who bumped into Xiao Bei seemed to have drunk a little too much and did not notice at all. Who asked Xiao Bei to be short? This person still wanted to walk outside, but just as he took a step, an arrow was nailed to his left and right legs. Then Xiao Yuan shouted, "Kill!" And a group of children rushed forward to kick and hit this person. Although Xiao Yuan and the others did not have much strength, The places they kicked were very particular. They kicked below the ribs, between the legs, above the ears, and the temples. They had learned all this from their siblings. Fortunately, no one stabbed the back of the neck with that sharp object. That would be fatal. The person lying on the ground could not feel the kicks of others. He was lying on his stomach, and the arrow from earlier was still stuck in his leg. When he fell, a lot of it went in again. The back half of the arrow outside was broken, and the arrow shaft with a blood groove was constantly bleeding. Xiao Yuan, come back. Zhang Xiaobao stared at the person lying on the ground and shouted. Xiao Yuan waited for the person who wanted to avenge Xiao Bei to come back. Zhang Xiaobao reached out and took the pliers from Wang Wan. He flipped the person over and pinched the arrow out of his leg. He thought for a moment and said, "We were too anxious just now and injured you. We will immediately send you to get medical treatment. If you miss work, we will also compensate. You are all dead." "Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? You are all finished. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. First, it was a child who dared to block my way. Next, it was you who used force. You can just wait for death." The person lying there gritted his teeth and said. Zhang Xiaobao, who had just apologized and was preparing to compensate and take responsibility, was suddenly stunned when he heard this person's words. He asked, "So you said that you saw someone deliberately bump into you in front of you? May I ask who you are?" "Prince. Marquis. I did it on purpose. There is no need for a prince or marquis. I alone am enough to deal with you. I am Yuan Rong's advisor. Right now the master is eating upstairs. You are all dead." The person lying on the ground continued to speak arrogantly. Zhang Xiaobao closed his eyes and said helplessly, "Why are there so many problems? Advisor, right? Yuan Rong. Isn't he busy settling the refugees? How could he let you come and cause trouble? Could it be that he doesn't care about what happened in Xankai County at all?" As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pulled out the 2 arrow sleeves. Following the person's scream, he reached out and took the medicine from Wang Wan. He poured it on the person's wound and said, "This matter is not entirely my fault. You bumped into my little sister, so I acted. I was indeed a little anxious. However, you clearly saw someone bumping into you. How about we call it even? Are you dreaming? You hurt me, so I will let you know my power." The person lying on the ground endured the pain and continued to shout. "Then I can only offend one more person. Yuan Rong, right? Good. Men, invite him down." Also, this person tried to murder an official of the imperial court, but was accidentally seen through by the official. He wanted to frame Yuan Rong, drag him to the backyard, and interrogate him. Zhang Xiaobao didn't expect things to turn out like this. However, since he bumped into his little sister and still spoke like this, then he couldn't be blamed for being ruthless. While Zhang Xiaobao was making his decision, Huayuan County was very lively. Many chefs had gathered here, and all of them wanted to show off their skills. As long as they could gain a reputation, then their value would increase in the future. Of course, the restaurants that wanted to invite them to work would have to fork out more money. Although only the chefs from around Gyeonggi province had come, there were still a lot of people. In order to let the chefs in their county win more glory, many counties insisted that several chefs be tied for first place in the regional competition. In this way, the first place could go, and there would be a lot of people in a short time. Empress Wang had been living more comfortably these days. The recuperation place on Yawang Mountain was even better than the Four Seasons workshop below. Today was the day of the competition. In order to help the Zhang family and the Wang family, Empress Wang also came out to take a look. When the time came, she would deliberately find a chef from the Zhang family and the Wang family to say that the dishes were good. Wu Huifei, who was about to go back, also came out today. She wasn't thinking about how to help the Zhang family and the Wang family. Instead, she was thinking about how to find fault with the Zhang family and the Wang family. It might be difficult to find fault with the craftsman, but it was easy to find fault with the chef's dishes. If you added just enough salt, I could say that it was bland or salty. If you added too much salt, I could say that it was bitter. If you added too little salt, I could say that it was bland and tasteless. For others, more salt would be refreshing, and less salt would be refreshing. Anyway, she could pick whatever she wanted. How could she, an imperial concubine, not be able to do this? It was nothing more than a competition with Empress Wang. Thinking of Empress Wang, Wu Huifei asked the person beside her, "Have you done what I asked you to do?" In reply to Your Highness, "It has been arranged. As long as Empress Wang says something, someone will naturally carry out our plan. Your Highness, you can rest assured." Wu Huifei nodded with satisfaction. "That's good. Let's go over there and have a look." When Wu Huifei arrived at the competition venue, Empress Wang followed her. Similarly, Empress Wang was also guarding against Wu Huifei. She asked the person beside her, "Xiao Zhu, do you think we really don't need to arrange for others to help?" "Your Highness, I don't think so. Miss Wang has already sent someone to send us a letter. She asked us to just take a look. Of course, we shouldn't be biased towards the chefs of the Zhang family and the Wang family. We should also evaluate the truly good chefs. The Zhang family and the Wang family don't need this competition to make a name for themselves. What they value is talent," Xiao Zhu said to Xiao Zhu. In fact, she was also a little nervous. After all, what they were going to face today was different from before. When it came to food, no one could say that good was good. It was just that the taste was different. Empress Wang picked up the honey water beside her, took a small sip, and said, "If that's the case, then make the arrangements. Let our people help out when the time comes." While the two sides were competing, the commoners didn't know that the commoners who came all wanted to see how good the chefs were. Of course, it would be even better if they could have a taste. However, many of the commoners knew that it wasn't their turn to have a taste. Originally, there wouldn't be many chefs competing. This was because each county planned to win with fewer chefs. The number of chefs from the surrounding counties had actually reached 400. Some of them were indeed very capable, while some were slightly weaker. This was because during the selection by the county, they would compete on the front content, such as seafood, meat, vegetables, noodles, and so on. Each category required points. Therefore, when the chefs with specialties competed, even if their points were slightly lower, they would still be recognized by the county. Seeing that all the chefs were present, the person in charge of hosting held a loudspeaker made of iron sheets in his hand and shouted to the people around him, "Everyone, please be quiet. Don't make any more noise. Listen to me, please be quiet." After shouting continuously, the commoners who were excitedly talking about what they wanted to say finally shut up. Even so, there were still people whispering to others. The host couldn't make everyone stop talking. Seeing that the voices were not as loud as before, he continued, "Everyone, today is the day of the chef's competition in Jiangxi province and the surrounding counties. We are lucky to have invited the current Tang Empire's Empress Wang and Wu Huifei. Now let's welcome them." If these words were said in a place where the Zhang family and the Wang family had not been, the commoners really didn't know how to express themselves. However, the commoners in Huayuan County understood. As soon as they heard the host's words, they immediately clapped hard and didn't stop for a long time. At this time, the host hesitated at this time, but still said boldly, "Let's invite Wu Huifei to say a few words." Wu Huifei was stunned at first. She didn't expect the host here to be so bold. After thinking about it, she stood up and took the loudspeaker from the host. She said to the people around her, "I'm here to take a look, to see the good chef of Tang Dynasty. I'll try it when the time comes. Work hard." Wu Huifei, who really didn't know what to say at this time, said a few words casually at this time. In fact, she also knew that the others didn't care what she said, as long as she said something. Sure enough, after she said such useless words, there was a burst of applause. Perhaps even the people who clapped didn't know why they were clapping. After Wu Huifei finished speaking, the host wanted to immediately start the competition, but suddenly remembered that there was a more powerful person. If he directly announced the competition, it was estimated that his head would be moved in less than a quarter of an hour. So he said, "Wu Huifei has just said a few words to us. Now, let's invite Empress Wang to say a few words." Empress Wang had been ready for a long time. She even had Wang Wan's speech in her hand. She had memorized it. She was afraid that she would forget the words in her hand, so she could read it when the time came. After standing up, She took the speaker and said to the surrounding people, "First of all, I would like to congratulate the emergence of this chef's competition. You know, from the beginning of Tang Empire until now, there has been no special chef's competition. This is a pioneering thing in the chef's industry, a magnificent feat that can let the majority of people taste the essence of delicacies." At the same time, it was not easy for Empress Wang to memorize Wang Wan's speech of 15,000 words. Although it was just a chef's competition, it included politics, military affairs, literature, art, and national relations. The people who were watching the fun were dumbfounded. If it were people like Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they would definitely fall asleep. But the people here had never heard so much nonsense. At this time, when they heard Empress Wang's comments on various aspects and the prospects of the chef's industry, they admired Empress Wang from the outside. They all felt that if Empress Wang didn't say it, they would definitely not know that cooking could be related to childbirth and could be used to defend against foreign enemies. The simple people listened patiently and even felt that it was better than a direct competition. Of course, they also secretly admired the Empress. She was indeed the Empress. She knew so many things, much better than Wu Huifei. Not only were the people stunned, but Wu Huifei was also the same. She had never thought that Empress Wang, who she had always thought was very bad, could say such a thing today. It sounded very reasonable, and it was so long. What was going on? A few days ago, she just found that Empress Wang was different from before. If it was possible to compete with Empress Wang and win at that time, it would not be easy for her to compete with Empress Wang today. Once the words of Empress Wang here spread to the capital and to the emperor's ears, it would not be easy to compete with her again. Thinking of this, Wu Huifei became anxious and winked at the people around her. The people around her immediately understood what she meant and hurriedly left to gather their people. While listening to Empress Wang, they suddenly shouted, "We just want to watch the competition. What's the use of talking so much? It's better to watch the competition right now." Empress Wang was stunned for a moment. Then she said with a smile, "Since there are people who don't want to listen, then I won't say any more. The people in this world are the most important. I announce that the competition officially begins." As soon as these words were said, there were cheers from below. The people didn't know much, but they knew who was good and who was bad. Look at Empress Wang. As long as someone below shouted, she would immediately stop talking. This was what an empress should be like. The host also began to talk about the rules of the competition. First, the venue would provide materials that were commonly seen, as well as firewood. Second, if anyone wanted to use their unique materials to make something, they had to tell everyone what it was first. Otherwise, they couldn't use it. In terms of whether it was poisonous or not, it was even stricter, so as to avoid poisoning people. For example, if someone wanted to make a puffer fish, this was absolutely not allowed. No matter how good one was at making a puffer fish, they were not allowed to use it in the competition. This was considered a self-selected dish, and there were also a few dishes that had to be prepared. This time, not only did the competition have to determine who had the most points and who was first, they also had to determine who was first in a certain aspect. Only then could they proceed to the next competition. In other words, it didn't matter if a chef lost in total points. As long as they won in a certain aspect, it was fine. At first, Empress Wang really didn't understand why such an arrangement was made. She asked Xiaozhu, and Xiaozhu went over to ask again. When Xiaozhu returned, she said, "Empress, they said that if a person wants to be the overall champion, then in theory, as long as he is second in every competition, he has a great chance. However, in many competitions he isn't first. So if a restaurant finds those who are first in various aspects, then naturally, they will cook better things than the person who is first in total points. But who can afford to hire so many first places? Oh, I know. The Zhang family and the Wang family want to find a chef for themselves." Empress Wang understood now. Wu Huifei was also thinking about it. She was indeed smarter than Empress Wang. After hearing the rules of the competition, she immediately said to the people around her, "No matter what price we have to pay, we must invite the person who is first in all aspects." It will be better if we can invite the person who is first in total points as well. While the two sides were calculating, the competition officially began. The reason why the Tang Empire could hold a chef's competition was that the country's tax had increased, and the people's lives were gradually getting better. Even if there were still some people who were worse off than others, the overall situation was really good. However, in some places, not to mention a chef's competition, it was not easy to even have a full meal every day. Han Xuanfeng's body was completely recovered now. He didn't need to take any medicine anymore. It was unknown whether it was because his body's resistance had become stronger, or because he was supported by many good things. With his participation, the other people's work became easier. Jiu Meiling was still in charge of her lottery. Every time she won a lottery, she could earn between 1,600 and 2,300 strings of coins. Although it was less than the big deals of tens of thousands of strings of coins, the cycle of big deals was also longer. It wasn't something that could be done casually. The lottery was opened once every 3 days, and the winning rate was very high, reaching 60%. Once, Jiu Meiling only earned a little more than 100 strings of coins, and a lot of money was won by others. It was also because of that more and more people were willing to come and buy lottery tickets. The winners were happy, while the losers were naturally not convinced. Jiu Meiling didn't care about what others thought. Every 3 days, she would earn money from the Tubo royal family, nobles, and slave owners who had risked their lives to earn money. The Tubo people were originally quite wild. After encountering the lottery, they couldn't resist at all. Some people bought more in order to increase the winning rate. The rich people spent their own money directly, while the poor people had to think of other ways. Some people borrowed from others, some pawned things in pawn shops, and some went to gambling places to gamble. In the first half of a month, there was a person who only had 1 copper coin left. He went to the casino that Mi Fan was in charge of and earned 20 strings of coins. He bought a lottery ticket every 4 strings of coins. He bought 5 tickets in total, and all of them were from the same number. In the end, he really won and earned more than 3,000 strings of coins. If he used this money to live a normal life, he wouldn't have to worry about money for the rest of his life if he didn't go to a remote place. Unfortunately, after this person made money, he went to the casino. In the end, he was left with less than 100 strings of coins. This less than 100 strings of coins was used to buy a lottery ticket in one go. After winning a few times in a row, he was finally left with a little more than 10 strings of coins. It came and went quickly. However, many people didn't think this way. They only saw how others won the lottery and earned money from gambling, but they never thought or were unwilling to think about how much others lost. Some people even said that even though that person lost money in the end, he had played it once and enjoyed it once. It was better than someone who had never enjoyed it once. If he only cared about stability, he wouldn't have won money at the casino that time, and he wouldn't have had the courage to buy lottery tickets. When others heard this, they also thought about it. If they didn't try once, they would be poor. If they succeeded, they could enjoy it. If they lost, they would still be poor. It didn't matter. Many Tibetans had such thoughts, especially recently, because 2 tribes had made a mistake, but were unwilling to admit it. Before the autumn harvest, the Great Tang had stopped the trade of grain, and no longer sold grain to the Tibetans. Even if they used more livestock and local specialties to trade, it was still not enough. Fortunately, there were some wild vegetables at this time. They could dig them up to satisfy their hunger. Otherwise, many people would starve to death. When such a thing happened, the Tubo people didn't complain about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Instead, they attacked the 2 tribes that offended Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Very soon, the 2 tribes that wanted to take advantage of Songzni were annihilated by other tribes. The people of the 2 tribes were also captured and sent to Pengzhou. However, Pengzhou didn't accept the 2 people. The reason was that the 2 people didn't have the guts to do such a thing. There must be someone else behind the scenes. They wanted the Tubo people to tell them who was behind it. In truth, no one had ordered them to do so, but the people of Pengzhou refused to believe it. They refused to trade for food, and they refused to trade for anything else. Even if the merchants of the Great Tang wanted to trade with them, they would be stopped, and their smuggling routes would also be blocked. Without food, people could suddenly eat wild vegetables and even tree barks. However, without salt they were sad. The price of salt kept rising, and there was no sign of it going down. If people didn't eat salt, they naturally wouldn't have strength. Even if they were slave owners, they often had to get some salt for their slaves to eat. When they saw that their slaves didn't have any strength, in addition to using their whips, the slave owners hoped that they could get more salt. At this time, Han Xianfeng, who had recovered from his illness, appeared. He had salt. After selling all the poultry, he began to use salt to buy other things in Tubo. In fact, it wasn't a secret. This time it was a normal purchase. He bought the saffron here, which was not called that here. There was a lot of this thing now. When the people of Tubo heard that they could use this thing to exchange for salt, they went to look for it. After they finished looking for it, they went to look for it further away. Because of the preciousness of salt, the price of saffron was very low. Even so, the commoners and slave masters were willing to search for it. As people wandered further and further, of course, it became more and more chaotic. Some people found it, some didn't, some picked a lot, and some only found a little. When this happened, it was inevitable that violence would occur. In order to obtain more resources, some people didn't even pick it themselves. Instead, they formed teams and robbed others. This kind of chaos could be tolerated in Tubo. But after summer, the number of locusts in Tubo gradually increased. Not everyone could be like Yao Chong, who really commanded the people to exterminate the locusts. Many times, the people of a certain area faced the same resistance as Yao Chong when he was the first to exterminate the locusts. Not only did the people not help, they even worshipped the locusts and organized others to exterminate them. Tubo encountered such a situation. Seeing more and more locusts, the people could only pray to their gods. No one went to deal with the locusts. Even the poultry had to stop them when they went to eat the locusts. Seeing that the locusts were increasing, and the saffron was almost finished, Han Xianfeng called Jiu Meiling and Mi Fan together. He said to the two, "Should we go back? Once this place becomes chaotic, I think we will be affected too." Mi Fan thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. "Okay, I will sell the casino tomorrow and let someone else take over. Let's leave. My lottery ticket is still making money. I've made a lot of money. During this time, I've probably made 20% of Tubo's money. Can we wait a few more days?" Jiu Meiling was the one who made the most money. When he heard the two discussing leaving, he was a little reluctant. Han Xianfeng looked at Jiu Meiling helplessly. "You are no different from a gambler. If a gambler doesn't want to win more money after winning, how can they lose all their money? If you really want to stay here, then you can stay by yourself. We won't accompany you." Jiu Meiling knew that when they came here, Han Xianfeng was the leader, and Mi Fan was in charge of checking the situation. Hearing Han Xianfeng say that, he unhappily said, let's go. I will sell this lottery ticket. When the time comes, we will take the money and leave together." Chapter 752. While Han Xianfeng and the other two were transporting the money back and preparing to leave, the plague of locusts in Tubo had already begun to take shape. Of course, Zhang Xiaobao had left something for Tubo to save their lives, which was the livestock. If they were commanded well, they might be able to recover some losses. However, whether or not they would use them was not up to Zhang Xiaobao to decide. This was the end of Wang Chang's revenge. What was left was to take advantage of the fact that Tubo did not have enough food after the autumn harvest to trade with them. That was another matter. After all, this place should have belonged to Great Tang. Because of its geographical relationship with other countries, Zhang Xiaobao did not want to drag things out too much. Wang Wan had told him that Great Tang, or rather Great Qin, had once fought with Arabia and lost miserably. Even though there were many reasons, a loss was a loss. Wang Wan was prepared to bring this war forward and personally lead the army there to see if Arabia could continue to win. Any small step on the battlefield was a large step in history. Thus, Zhang Xiaobao began to plan for Tubo, wanting to make this place belong to Great Tang as soon as possible. He did not intend to use local people to govern this place, as that would cause problems. The better method was to migrate moving many people from Tubo to Great Tang. This was the first step starting from agriculture. When the time came, he would use the second step. And the second step would be to slowly break down Tubo. Zhang Xiaobao also said that it was easy to bring people from Tubo to Great Tang. But the difficult part was the system. Even though Great Tang was working hard, it was still a feudal society. The people who were unwilling to change were not the slaves or the slave masters, but the nobles. This matter was more troublesome, and he would have to focus on this in the future. Han Xianfeng and the other two did not know about Zhang Xiaobao's plan. They left, bringing with them many slaves. Some were bought from nobles at large sums of money. Some were exchanged with lottery tickets, and some were won from gambling. In total, there were more than 7,000 slaves. The army marched toward the Great Tang. In order to prevent others from sending soldiers to attack them, Han Xianfeng raised the flag of the seedlings after 2 days of marching. Furthermore, he had already arranged for someone to report to the Great Tang, so that they could send reinforcements. This move was indeed effective. Originally, there were 4 Tubo nobles who wanted to target this group. However, when they saw the flag, 3 of them immediately backed out. They were cowardly and didn't dare to touch Han Xuanfeng's troops. However, there was one noble who didn't believe that the flag was real. He thought that someone had made a fake flag to trick him. So, when he saw that the other 3 had left, he didn't withdraw his troops. Instead, he increased the number of troops. Now there were 6 cavalrymen and 400 infantrymen. Han Xianfeng wasn't an ordinary person. He immediately knew that someone was plotting against him. It wasn't easy for 1,000 people to deal with 7,000 people. He understood that the other party knew that the slaves on his side had just been gathered and weren't very united yet. Therefore, when Mi Fan kept saying that she hadn't been feeling well recently, Han Xianfeng, who was the leader, showed his ability. His family was a family of officials. He knew very well how to win people's hearts. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been sent here. On this day, when Mi Fan found him and said that she was having trouble breathing, Han Xianfeng stopped the army. The 7,000 slaves formed a large circle. Han Xianfeng stood in the middle of the circle and shouted at the slaves, "Do you know who I am?" The slaves didn't know who Han Xianfeng was. After disguising himself and speaking fluent Tubo, Han Xianfeng was just another slave master from Tubo. The only difference was that this slave master was nicer to them. He was also very smart, and knew how to make a fake flag of the logistics camp in Idyll to trick them. Perhaps he could guess what the slaves were thinking. Han Xianfeng continued to shout, "Do you think I'm from Tubo?" Some of the slaves nodded, some were confused, and some stared at Han Xianfeng, waiting for him to continue. "Wrong, I'm not from Tubo. Don't think that I can speak Tubo. Do you see that flag? That's the flag of the logistics camp in Idyll, but that flag isn't mine." Han Xianfeng continued to shout. The Tubo slaves looked like they knew it. Some even muttered softly. Most of them thought to themselves, "If I knew, you were just lying to others. Can you say it all at once? Look at the people around you. They're about to lose their confidence." Mi Fan covered her chest with her hand and said to Han Xianfeng unhappily, "I'll say it all now." Han Xianfeng observed Mi Fan's expression and knew that there was going to be big trouble. Mi Fan was like this. She was very sensitive to danger. According to the young master and young lady, it was her 6th sense. It was an existence that was beyond the 5 senses. It was very magical. Han Xianfeng nodded to Mi Fan and took out another flag. He opened it and said to the slaves, "This is my flag. Do you see Dao Miao wearing black clothes and a black hat? I am the person in charge of spying for the Zhang family and the Wang family in Sanshui County of Tang Dynasty. My code name is Dark Knight." The slaves' eyes suddenly widened. They thought that Han Xianfeng would say which noble he was. They didn't expect him to take out another flag and say that he was from the Zhang family and the Wang family in Sanshui County. Hearing that, they didn't think he was lying. But even if the slaves were willing to accept Han Xuanfeng's identity, they were still worried that he would lie. They looked at Mi Fan and Jiu Meiling. Jiu Meiling spoke first. "Don't look at me. I joined later. I'm not from the Zhang family and the Wang family. Look at him. Mi Fan is from Sanshui County's Zhang family and the Wang family in Sky Team. He's in charge of special situations. While Jiu Meiling was speaking, Mi Fan took out her own flag and put on her own unique symbol. She was the captain of Sky Team. She had people who raised eagles and dogs. What are you doing here? One of the bolder slaves asked the three of them. Why are we here? Of course we're here to take revenge on Zhang Xiaobao's order. You Tubo sent people to make trouble there. How can our young master let Tubo go just because they attacked him once? This time, we're here to take revenge. But our young master doesn't want to hurt too many Tubo people. That's why he wants us to buy as many slaves as possible. When you get to the Tang Empire, you won't be slaves anymore. You'll be farmers. Although farmers have to listen to their masters, there's a difference between farmers and slaves. As long as a farmer has enough money, he can leave the master's family. It's just that Zhang family and the Wang family don't want to leave even if they have more money. In the Tang Empire, your lives will be 100 times better than now. You won't have to worry about food or clothes. You won't have to rest for less than 6 hours a day. When you have your own children, you can even send them to school to study. Right now the opportunity is right in front of you. Someone wants to keep us in Tubo. Are you prepared to fight for a better life in the Tang Empire, or continue to suffer in Tubo? Make your choice. Han Xianfeng shouted at the slaves. At the same time he stared at a few spots in the crowd. After he finished shouting, the slaves still didn't know how to choose. They didn't trust Han Xianfeng. If they chose to fight back, they might die. At this moment, someone in the crowd shouted, Master, now that you mention it, I remember that I've heard your name before. You're really from the Zhang family and the Wang family of Sanshui County. You're Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. I don't know what kind of economic war Zhang Xiaobao won, but I remember Demon Fiend Cuckoo. I'm willing to follow you back to the Tang Empire. I've heard that the people of the Tang Empire are living well, especially the Zhang family and the Wang family. I've decided that from now on, if anyone wants me to return to Tubo, I'll fight with my life on the line. As soon as this person finished shouting, another person started to shout. More and more people started to shout from the other side. The other slaves were also moved by the shouts. Each and every one of them felt that they had a goal in their hearts. Seeing this situation, Han Xianfeng and the others let out a sigh of relief. They had been the ones to call out the slaves, afraid that the slaves wouldn't cooperate. Seeing so many people follow suit, Han Xianfeng knew that even if the other side had 1,000 armed people, they wouldn't be able to beat 7,000 people. You really know how to lie. Look at them. They think you're telling the truth, Jiu Meiling said to Han Xianfeng. Han Xianfeng paused, looked at Jiu Mei, and coldly replied, I'm telling the truth. I'm not lying to anyone. The young master really wants to do this. He doesn't want everyone to be slaves. Slaves don't need to be paid, and they don't need to pay rent. However, slaves don't need to work as hard as farmers. Really? He's that kind. Slaves, you just need to feed them. Jiu Meiling hadn't met Zhang Xiaobao before. Her impression of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family came from other sources. She was especially upset that she didn't get admitted to the hospital during the exam. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? Let's see if they can fight against the people chasing after us, Han Xianfeng said. He looked at the slaves and continued shouting, Don't worry. As long as you escape this time, you'll have a good life. Otherwise, you'll continue to be bullied. You won't be able to eat or dress well. Even if you find a good woman, those Tubo nobles will take her to their houses and enjoy her before you can take her. If you're a man, you should act like a man and protect your woman. You can't be bullied when you're about to be together. If you're a woman, you should think about whether you'll have a good life in the future. As long as you go to Tang, not only will you be able to eat and dress well, but you'll also have all kinds of cosmetics and mirrors. In order to make the slaves love each other, Han Xianfeng was willing to do anything. He even talked about cosmetics and used women to inspire men's courage. At this time, Mi Fan suddenly said to Han Xianfeng, Let's go. I'm fine. I feel very comfortable now. I think there will be a change soon. What change? Jiu Meiling asked. How would I know? Anyway, there will be a change. Mi Fan didn't say anything else after replying. He indeed didn't feel as uncomfortable as before. He even felt that his breathing was more comfortable than usual. Hearing Mi Fan's words, Han Xianfeng could only choose to believe him. He gave some orders and continued to lead the 7,000 slaves. There weren't many tents. Only the 3 of them had 2 tents. They didn't have much luggage either. When they left, they let the slaves carry the rations themselves. The slaves were used to sleeping and resting in the wild. They didn't care about tents at all. Therefore, the group moved faster. They were still 3 days away from Jinchuan, and the 1,000 people behind them also sped up. Before they could catch up, 100 cavalrymen appeared in front of Han Xianfeng and the others. There were also a few eagles flying in the sky, although there weren't many of them. After seeing the riders, Han Xianfeng finally collapsed. He said to Zhou Meiling, "Help me up. I can't take it anymore. If you want to die, die far away. Don't die in front of me," Zhou Meiling said coldly, but she still helped Han Xianfeng up. The riders didn't stop. They rushed to the back of the slave group. Seeing the flags of the riders, the slaves believed Han Xianfeng's words. The flags belonged to the Chamber of Commerce. There were also seedlings on them. "Let's go. Let's go back." Han Xianfeng waved his hand and rode forward. The slaves, who were originally running out of strength, did not know where they found the strength to run again. Their faces were full of yearning for the future, and they ran quickly. After half an hour, the 100 cavalrymen also encountered the 1,000 people who were chasing after the group of slaves. The 100 cavalrymen stopped their horses and stayed where they were without saying a word, nor did they show their weapons. But even so, the people on the other side all stopped in their tracks. When the 1,000 people were in position, the captain of the 100 cavalrymen shouted to the other side, "The 7,000 slaves in front of us are the people that our young master and young lady want." After saying this, the 100 cavalrymen turned their horses around and chased after the group of slaves. The 1,000 people sent by the other nobles looked at each other. They didn't know what to do. They thought about the 2 tribes that had been destroyed by the other nobles. In the end, they didn't dare to chase. While Han Xianfeng met a benefactor and saved the group from danger, Heng Yue also met a benefactor in Baoxin County. At least, that was what he said. He was the county magistrate of Xiankai County, the one with the surname Yan. After he took over the position in the county, he read the proposal brought back by Li Linfu. He had originally decided to live a peaceful life, but in the end, he couldn't control the thoughts in his heart. He took a leave of absence from the county and ran to Baoxin County. He Yue was currently in the Yamen receiving County Magistrate Yan, who claimed to be a benefactor. He Yue didn't receive him in his study, nor the signing room. Instead, he received him in the room where he usually received commoners. Here, he could speak freely and wouldn't arouse suspicion. "County Magistrate Yan, you came all the way from Xiankai County. I'm very touched. Have you eaten lunch? Why don't we eat together?" He Yue didn't believe in benefactors. If there really was one, it definitely wasn't County Magistrate Yan. It was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He asked County Magistrate Yan if he had eaten on purpose. He came all the way here, and it wasn't even noon yet. How could he have eaten lunch? County Magistrate Yan also heard the sense of distance in He Yue's words, but he didn't care. It wasn't like he hadn't encountered such a person before. In the end, he still dealt with him. Thus he nodded and followed He Yue's words. "Then I'll have to trouble you, County Magistrate He. I really haven't eaten." "Good. Someone, bring up the food used to receive guests. It's the kind that is usually served to commoners." County Magistrate He didn't lack a meal. Since the other party wanted to stay and eat, then let him eat. He ordered the people standing outside the door. The reason why he said the food was for commoners was because he was afraid that there weren't enough commoners today, and they wouldn't be able to finish it. Whether it was throwing it away or letting others eat more, it wasn't worth it. County Magistrate Yin didn't know. When he heard He Yue's words, he was puzzled. Why was there a provision for commoners to eat? Since when did the Yamen have such a rule? Then he understood. It must be because He Yue didn't want to treat him well, so he gave such an order. Every county magistrate would always give a secret signal to his subordinates when he gave an order. It was estimated that this meal would not taste good. Thinking about this in his heart, County Magistrate Yen, who had been treated coldly before, didn't care. It was just a bad meal. As long as Hiyue could eat it, then he could eat it too. If it was divided into plates, then he could take what was on Hiyue's plate. What could Hiyue do? He changed the plate for Hiyue too. May I know why County Lieutenant Yin is here this time? Hiyue didn't ask about the important person. Instead, he asked about something else. County Magistrate Yin pretended to smile mysteriously and said to Hiyue, "Don't you know you're in big trouble?" "What do you mean?" Hiyue suddenly became nervous and asked, "Do you know what this place is?" County Magistrate Yin didn't answer, but asked another question. "Is the feng shui bad?" Hiyue said in that direction. County Magistrate Yin was still smiling. No. It has nothing to do with feng shui. It's a matter of money. Your Buxing County is not normal now. Think about it. How much money can you make now? How much was it before? You're the county magistrate of such a good place. Are the others convinced? You're not convinced? Hiyue asked. Of course I'm convinced. What am I? But if someone's ability is great, will they also be convinced? If it's just a little money, it's fine. The main thing is that many officials here are studying here. You're taking advantage of this. Do you think others won't make trouble for you? Plus, you told the people how much money the county has. If you do this, won't the other counties learn from you? If they learn, then they won't be able to keep their greedy share. If they don't learn, then what's the point of being an official? Do you understand? County Magistrate Yin analyzed to Hiyue like an expert. Hiyue's face finally changed and became very ugly. County Magistrate Yin thought his words had moved Hiyue. When he was about to continue, Hiyue waved his hand and said to County Magistrate Yin, "Thank you for your concern, County Magistrate Yin. Like you said, I won't be here for long. I'll leave after the autumn harvest and let someone else take over. Do you know where I'm going?" "Where?" County Magistrate Yin asked, puzzled. "I don't know. Come, the food is here. Eat first." Hiyue originally wanted to tell County Lieutenant Yin not to think that his side was bad and that his future was smooth. But when he was about to say it, he hesitated. Coincidentally, the servants brought the food over and invited him to eat. County Magistrate Yin still wanted to ask more questions, but when he saw someone bring the food over, he had to shut his mouth and stared at the food. He wanted to see what Hiyue was going to use to trick him. But when he saw the food, County Magistrate Yin was stunned. There were 2 dishes and a soup. The dishes were scrambled eggs with chives and bean sprouts with meat. The soup was spinach soup with a layer of oil on top. There were also 2 pieces of fermented bean curd and 2 pieces of stinky tofu. There was also a plate of radish strips and pickles. The main dish was a cake made of rice flour and rice flour. Before County Magistrate Yin could ask, Hiyue said, "This place is used to entertain the people. Sometimes the people live far away and come here early in the morning. It's either noon or night. We can't let them starve, so we ask people to prepare some food in advance every day. It's a pity to leave it here. Why don't we eat it? We don't prepare much every day. If more people come, we will ask people to make more for them. This stinky tofu is the best. If you came yesterday, you could eat the salted stinky egg. I can eat 2 bowls of rice with half a salted egg. Try this dish." While speaking, Hiyue ate first. He used his chopsticks to pick up some stinky tofu and put it in his mouth. He took a bite of the cake and enjoyed it very much. County Magistrate Yin didn't know what to do. When Hiyue took a second bite, he used his chopsticks to pick up a piece of scrambled eggs with chives and put it in his mouth. The taste was very ordinary. It wasn't particularly delicious, but it wasn't bad either. County Magistrate Yin didn't understand why County Magistrate Yin would prepare food for the people. He felt that it was better to take care of his own business first. He drank 2 mouthfuls of the soup and said to Hiyue, "Do you want to not be envied by others and still be able to make money? You see, what you are doing is wrong. You are giving food to the people. But aren't you afraid that the people will come here every day to eat? What will the officials of the surrounding counties think if they know about this?" Hiyue didn't want to talk to County Magistrate Yin, but he saw that County Magistrate Yin was not going to give up. He put down his chopsticks and asked humbly, "What can County Magistrate Yin teach me?" "Sigh. That's the right thing to do. It's good that you know you're wrong. Come, I'll tell you a way so that you don't have to offend anyone and can earn money for yourself. These words have entered your ears from my mouth. If you tell anyone else, I won't admit it. County Magistrate Yen put on a look of educating others and whispered into He Yue's ear. Chapter 754. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan dealt with Yuanrong's people. Yuanrong didn't show any hostility. Instead, he gave Xiaobei and the others a gift. He didn't apologize for offending Xiaobei, nor did he mention that his people were hurt by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It was as if nothing had happened. In addition to making preparations for Li Longji's journey to Jinyang, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also had to set up a reception area in Jinyang. Usually, after the reception area was built, it would be put aside. Even if the emperor left, no one else could use it. Zhang Xiaobao also thought the same, so he needed to make arrangements there. This trip would cost about 200,000 to 300,000 string of coins. It wasn't a small amount. If they couldn't earn it back, they would lose money. We've already sent people out. We won't take the land route. There's a Fun River that connects to the capital, so we can save a lot of money on the road. However, we need to build temporary rest areas every once in a while. I'm going to build the rest areas in the big garden. In order to earn back the money he spent, Zhang Xiaobao drew a picture on a piece of paper. It was the garden he was talking about. Wang Wan came over to take a look. No matter how she looked at it, she couldn't tell that it was a garden. It looked more like a big market. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao in confusion. How long do you think it will take to earn back the money you spent? Very soon. Look, when Li Longji comes, we'll plant more flowers. When he leaves, we'll remove the flowers and turn it into a market. In every place like this, we'll use iron chains to pull up a bridge. It's convenient for people on both sides to trade with each other. We'll collect a bridge fee. When others trade, we won't collect any fees. We won't even collect the market management fee. The price will be decided by the buyers and sellers. However, there's one thing. All the goods that come over must be seen by us before they're sold. We can buy them all directly. Zhang Xiaobao drew on the picture. He also drew a few flower pots and a hole on the ground. He meant to bury the pots and flowers in the ground. It would be convenient for them to go back and forth. Wang Wan thought for a moment and understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. Although it was said that the market price would not be affected, once they had the right to buy first, as long as they controlled it a little, they could make the price of various items in the market fluctuate. They could control the quantity of goods and make a lot of money. She nodded and said, "This is feasible. What about the iron chain bridge? I estimate that 300,000 strings of coins won't be enough to repair the bridge fee. It's a long-term thing. It's better than nothing. At that time, there will be more merchants coming and going, and transportation will be convenient. At most, we can find someone to cooperate with. Our family can't take out too much money. When Li Longji goes to Jinyang for a tour, that's where the real money is. We'll protect the place where he stays, but in the name of letting him cultivate, we'll buy a larger area around it and build an artificial lake. We'll let people go there and see if there's a good place and lake there. We'll arrange the place where Li Longji stays. We won't let others stay in the courtyard where he stayed. No one will care about the other places. Even the emperor is willing to stay in a place where he stays. How many people will want to rest and play there? We'll build more inns and restaurants, and that place will gradually become prosperous. The main thing is that we can let people do business there, with a little management fee. If they're willing to rent out the place, they can earn back the money they spent in less than 2 years. In the future, that place will become more and more profitable." Zhang Xiaobao told Wang Wan his idea, and then said, "We still have to think of a way to let Li Longji write a title or something, such as the world's #1 lake. Well, I don't think that's possible. That small lake can't be the world's #1. Let's not talk about this for now. We'll think about it when the time comes. You're using Li Longji's name to get benefits for yourself." Wang Wan admitted that this celebrity effect would be good. People nowadays like things like being attached to others. For example, if someone wrote a good poem in a certain place, as the poem spread, that place would become famous, and many people would come because of it. Not to mention this time, it was the same at other times. Lu Sun wrote Kong Yiji, And as a result, the fennel beans in Xianfeng Tavern became famous. Originally, it was something that could be eaten anywhere and didn't taste good, but it was sold at a high price. When the time came, Zhang Xiaobao would also specially cook a few side dishes in Jinyang, and then have someone make a story about it. After that, he would connect it with the emperor and spread it out. Then, he would find someone to write a few prepared poems in advance. That would be amazing. He estimated that he would be able to earn back the money in 2 years. Jinyang was also a big place, and it was already prosperous enough. Who knew how much the land that was rented out would be sold? Thinking of this, Wang Wan reminded Zhang Xiaobao, "Don't forget about the ship. Li Longji's ship can't be closed off to others, right? At most, we'll leave his cabin open. The other places can still be used as a cruise ship. I think there will be a lot of people who are willing to go up and get some of the dragon's aura." "I know. Make use of everything you can. Oh, and don't forget to send money and gifts to the people around Li Longji. Even if it's an errand eunuch or a guard, you have to take care of them. Who knows when you'll need them in the future?" Zhang Xiaobao also had such plans. If the imperial court spent money directly, the money spent would become a one-time expense. Although this money would eventually fall into the hands of the people and officials, it wouldn't play a big role in the development of the local economy. If it were up to him to operate, not only would he be able to make money, but he would also provide a place for the people to exchange goods. Many of the things produced by the people couldn't be sold because of the lack of a place to buy and sell them. Some people lack such goods, especially vegetables. It would be a pity to just throw them away. After the two of them were almost done with their discussion, they once again sent people to the front to make arrangements. Time was tight, and they only had half a month to prepare. The project was huge, and they needed to find a lot of people to help. The sky gradually darkened. Zhang Xiaobao started to cook for his younger siblings again. Xiaobei and the others were unwilling to just stay in the room. They were wearing the official robes of Miyu, and were wandering back and forth in the courtyard behind Savant's restaurant. They were afraid that others wouldn't know that they were officials now. After wandering for a while, Xiaobei started to think about her guards. Now that she was an official, according to the rules, she could have a certain number of attendants. Even though she was just a low-ranking official, she could still enjoy such treatment and a salary from the imperial court. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had guards, and the number had long exceeded the standard. However, no one cared about it, and no one mentioned it. Other than the fact that other people also exceeded the standard, it was also because of the importance of the skills of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Even Li Longji hoped that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family would have more guards to prevent others from prying into their good skills. "I've decided. My guards must grow up with me and be nurtured from a young age." After thinking for a while, Xiaobei came up with such a decision. She started to look at Xiaoyuan. "Don't look at me. I'm not your guard. I'm also an official. I also need my own guards." Xiaoyuan knew what Xiaobei was thinking when she saw Xiaobei looking over. She straightforwardly told Xiaobei to dismiss the idea. Xiaobei looked elsewhere regretfully and finally said, "Forget it. When we're on the way, I'll see if I can meet some orphans and find them to be my guards. In the future, they will definitely be more powerful than the people from Team Zero." The people who lived in Savant's restaurant were also looking at Xiaobei and the others in the courtyard. They were all envious and jealous. When the sky finally turned dark, Zhang Xiaobao brought out the food he had prepared for his younger siblings. Just as he was about to ask his younger siblings to eat, someone from the palace came. Gao Lishir asked the little eunuch, Luo Bin, to come over and ask Zhang Xiaobao if he had made any dishes. He had not eaten yet. When he heard Luo Bin say this, Zhang Xiaobao gave Wang Wan a look, telling her to continue telling stories to his younger siblings while he went to cook for Li Longji. Although Luo Bin said that Gao Lishir wanted to eat, Zhang Xiaobao knew that this was Li Longji's problem. In fact, the chefs in the palace were not bad. It was just that the food they made was more casual. It was unlike the palace, where the food used was fixed and could not be different. If it was a little salty or bland, then it would be troublesome. After busying himself for a full hour, Zhang Xiaobao only managed to make 8 dishes and 1 soup. He put them in a large food box and had the people Luo Bin brought carry it away. He did not forget to give Luo Bin and the others a gift according to the importance of their position and status. He even did not miss out on the palace guards who followed them. This time, the people who came out went back happily and promised Zhang Xiaobao that they would not delay the journey and would not let anyone come close. This meant that they did not have to worry about anyone tampering with the food. After watching Luo Bin and the others leave, Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his starving stomach and looked for something to eat. He muttered, "This journey is so tiring. I reckon that Li Longji wants me to cook for him. So he transferred me over from Baoxin County. What kind of person is he?" Zhang Xiaobao did not know whether Li Longji really thought this way or not. When Luo Bin hurried back to the palace, the food was still warm. There was no need to reheat it. There was a charcoal fire under the food box to keep it warm. In addition, it was currently summer, so it was impossible for it to become cold. Zhang Xiaobao was hungry from cooking, but Li Longji and Gao Lishir were also hungry. In order to eat more of Zhang Xiaobao's food, the two of them only drank tea and did not even touch the snacks. When they saw that the food was delivered with the seal that Zhang Xiaobao had put on it, Gao Lishir checked it and saw that no one had touched it. He did not need anyone else to taste it. He tasted every dish himself. After waiting for another 15 minutes, he nodded to Li Longji and said, "Your Majesty, you can eat now." When Li Longji saw that Gao Lishir did not feel uncomfortable after tasting the food, he impatiently picked up his chopsticks and started eating. As he ate, he said, "If only I could get Xiaobao to come over and cook for me. I don't need anyone else to taste it. After we leave the capital, I can eat Xiaobao's food every day. Don't you think it's strange? Xiaobao's knife skills are not as good as the chefs in the palace. So why does it taste so good? Your Majesty, this subject believes that it has nothing to do with the knife skills, nor is it an issue with the seasonings. It's just that Xiaobao's food gives me the feeling of eating at home. It's not like a restaurant where the food is good, but it's all the same. Xiaobao's food is called a home-cooked meal," Gao Lishir explained from the side. Yes, home-cooked meal. That's indeed the case. In the past, when I was in my own residence, even if the food I ate was not as good as the food in the palace, I still felt that it was better than the food in the palace. Tomorrow call Xiaobao and the others over, and make that pot of clear water. It'll be more lively when a group of people eat together. It's better than eating alone. Li Longji agreed. Then he wanted to liven up the atmosphere. The people in the palace, even his children and concubines, were a little reserved when eating with him. They were not as good as Zhang Xiaobao and his younger siblings. Children did not know how to be afraid, and would say whatever was on their mind. Only then would they be able to eat together freely. Gao Lishir did not object. He immediately sent someone to Savant's restaurant to inform Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan so that they could prepare in advance. Whatever they wanted to dip in the pot of water would be decided by the two of them. It should not be bad, but they did not know how much it would cost. The emperor's meal was not simple. "Lishir, you eat too. 8 dishes and 1 soup. I can't finish it alone. It would be a pity to throw it away," Li Longji said to Gao Lishir when he saw Gao Lishir eating at the side. From the looks of it, Xiaobao knew that if 2 people were eating, he would probably increase the portion by a little. When Gao Lishir thanked him and also started to eat, Li Longji suddenly changed the topic and talked about the trip to Jinyang this time. "Lishir, how much do you think Xiaobao and Cuckoo will spend this time? How will they earn it back? I don't believe that they will only spend and not earn. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned to them that I am willing to take the initiative to fork out this money. It probably won't be a small amount." In fact, Li Longji did not need Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to fork out the money. There was a lot of money in the national treasury now, enough to support a few trips like this. The reason why he agreed was that it was better to save as much as possible and use it in other aspects. The people in the imperial court had already calculated that if they were to fork out money from the national treasury this time, they would need at least 200,000 strings of coins. This was not including the money that would be taken out when they arrived at Jinyang. It was better to save money and leave it to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Another reason was that he wanted to see if the two of them could earn money from this kind of thing. He wanted to learn. How could Gao Lisher know how much Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would fork out? He estimated that it would not be less. After thinking for a while, he replied, Your Majesty, this subject feels that if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were to fork out the money, they would not be able to spend 300,000 strings of coins. It might even be 500,000 strings of coins. Oh, why do you say so? Li Longji asked. Replying to Your Majesty, since Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have accepted this job, they naturally will not be fooling around. They will definitely arrange it well, so that Your Majesty will be happy along the way and feel comfortable when you arrive at your destination. This is a sum of money. According to the calculations of the officials in the imperial court, the amount of money that was prepared to be used in the national treasury was 200,000 strings of coins. Moreover, when you arrive at Jinyang, you will also need to spend a lot of money there. There are construction banks, roads, and arrangements for Your Majesty's sightseeing. 100,000 strings of coins is still the minimum. It is estimated that it will only be more and not less. Since this is the case, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will have to fork out 300,000 strings of coins. In addition, they will have to think of ways to earn money, so they will need to use more money to take advantage of the opportunity to build. Therefore, this subject feels that 300,000 strings of coins is possible. Gao Lisher analyzed for Li Longji. He also wanted to know how Xiao Bao would earn back the money. The more the better. Seeing that Li Longji was deep in thought, Gao Lisher asked again, Why don't this subject send someone to ask Xiao Bao? Ask. No need, we will know when the time comes. The Empress and concubine Hui are still in the hospital. Did they say when they will be back? Li Longji felt that if he asked, Zhang Xiaobao would naturally tell him, but it would not be a surprise. It would be interesting to guess more. It would be best if he could see how Zhang Xiaobao would earn money. At the same time, he asked Empress Wang and concubine Wu. If they were not back, he could not bring them along. It did not matter whether Empress Wang brought them along or not. Wu Huifei had not seen her for a long time. Gao Lisher knew the situation over there. He said to Li Longji, Your Majesty, this subject reckons that the Empress and concubine Hui will not be able to make it this time. There is a chef competition over there. Li Longji looked a little regretful. He did not say anything more and continued to eat. In Huayuan County, the chef competition was still in progress. Chefs from all over the country showed their skills. For the next few days, they were busy all day and night, taking turns to come. The chefs in Aqua Cloud Room had already cooked several dishes, but every time Wu Huifei gave them a very low score. Even if the food in her mouth was clearly better than the dishes cooked by others, she still wouldn't give them a high score. Empress Wang was more fair. She would give a score according to her own feelings. If the food between the clouds and the water did not taste good, she would not give a high score. The two of them were not the only ones who tasted the food. There were other people who were also there to give a fair score after tasting the food made by others. In this way, it was impossible for concubine Wu Huifei to suppress between the clouds and the water, even if she tried her best. Now it was night time, and there were only 2 days left. The chef competition would enter the finals. Most of the chefs who were eliminated by the score would not have a chance to enter the finals. Now among the 20 people in front of the competition, 12 of them were between the clouds and the water. One of them was because the food between the clouds and the water cooked was really good. The other was because the chefs between the clouds and the water came in large numbers. There were many branches between the clouds and the water in the prefectures around Jiangyi province. Even if there was only one chef from each branch, there would be more than 100 chefs coming here. Under such competition, it was hard not to be sent to the front. In order to suppress between the clouds and the water, concubine Wu Huifei could not sit still. Tonight's competition was to make a soup and 2 optional dishes. Once the dishes were done, dinner would be finished after tasting them. Concubine Wu Huifei sat there and thought for a while. Then she gave an order to the person next to her. That person immediately came to the stage where the competition was going to be held and shouted to the crowd. Concubine Wu has ordered that in today's competition, we will not follow the previous rules. Instead, we will divide the dishes made by the 20 people in front of us. and let each judge be responsible for 2 people's dishes. As for the chefs after the 20th place, they will be counted according to the normal rules. In this way, we can increase the difficulty of the chefs and make the competition more interesting. The onlookers understood as soon as they heard that. Concubine Wu Huifei wanted to change the rules. If it were someone else who said this, the onlookers would definitely not support it. However, she was an imperial concubine. Even if some people were not satisfied with it, they could not say anything. At this time, many people looked at Empress Wang, wondering if she would agree. How could Empress Wang not know what concubine Wu Huifei was thinking? If she did this, then as long as concubine Wu Huifei ate the dishes made by the chefs between the clouds and the water, no matter how good or bad they were, they would be given a very low score. This would cause the chefs between the clouds and the water to drop from the top 20. 1 less person was 1 less person. 2 less people were 2 less people. In this way, between the clouds and the water might lose in the finals because of the lack of chefs. Empress Wang wanted to stop it, but when she saw the person in charge of the competition, who looked indifferent, she finally swallowed the words she wanted to say. Wei Wei nodded, agreeing to this rule. Seeing that Empress Wang did not object, concubine Wu Huifei was happy. She looked at the place where the lots were being drawn, hoping that she could draw 2 chefs between the clouds and the water. That way, she could take revenge on Wang Wan first. After all, she had brought Empress Wang here and taught her a lot of skills. Perhaps she was really lucky. When the lots were drawn, concubine Wu Huifei indeed drew 2 chefs between the clouds and the water. Wu Huifei looked at the 2 chefs who were indifferent and thought about how to find fault with them later. With the order the competition started, concubine Wu Huifei stared at the 2 chefs she was in charge of. When it came time to score, she had to have an excuse. The 2 chefs between the clouds and the water did not make shark fin and abalone. It was a very normal dish. First, they prepared the ingredients for 2 soups. One prepared to make a soup with cucumber and egg, while the other prepared to make a soup with shredded radish. After preparing the ingredients for the soup, one of the chefs began to beat the eggs. He used shredded radish to make the soup. Because there were eggs in the main dish, it was not good to put eggs in the soup. Otherwise it would be repeated. The oil in the pot was first heated. Then he beat the eggs one by one into the bowl. Then, he used chopsticks to break the adhering parts. The chopsticks flew up and down, and the eggs rose and fell with the movements of the chopsticks. In the end the eggs did not look like eggs. They looked like yellowish cloth. After the oil in the wok was boiling, the cook added some salt to the eggs. He didn't add anything else, and directly put the cloth into the wok with his chopsticks. With a sizzling sound, the eggs in the wok suddenly swelled up. When the last piece of egg was beaten into the pot, the chef used his chopsticks to pull the egg pancake in the pot, and turned it around. Immediately, with the force of the turn, the egg pancake was picked up along the side of the pot, and landed on the empty plate at the side. The whole process was very fast. It was so fast that the onlookers below exclaimed. They had never seen anyone make fried eggs like this. It looked very comfortable, but the requirements for heat control and the chef's proficiency were very high. This dish was actually very common. However, when placed in between the clouds and the water, it was a dish that every chef who wanted to be promoted to a special chef. The simpler the dish, the more one could see the chef's ability. Then the chef began to stir-fry the wood ears and shredded meat. At the same time, it was a very simple dish. At this time, the other chef had also finished the first dish. It was stir-fried tofu with some starch on top. That was it. The other dish was eggplant with minced meat. Except for the wood ears, which were very rare, the commoners had eaten all the other dishes. They were the most commonly seen dishes. However, none of the commoners felt that this dish was not good. They were all waiting for the final score. At this moment, the soup was also being served. The entire process, which consisted of 2 dishes and 1 soup, took less than half an hour before they were placed on the table in front of Wu Huifei. Before they even touched their chopsticks, Wu Huifei spoke first. She evaluated the 4 dishes one by one. I don't know what the chef is thinking about this fried egg. You made such a big piece. How do you expect others to eat it? Don't you know how to break it? When did between the clouds and the water have such a chef? At the very least, it should be divided into 4 pieces. Even if you used a knife to divide it later, it would be fine. The chef who was criticized nodded and replied, Your Highness is right. When I made it, I did as Your Highness said. I divided this piece of egg into 6 pieces. If Your Highness doesn't believe me, just use your chopsticks and you will know. Don't be fooled by the fact that the eggs seem to be in a continuous state when you put them into the pot. In fact, they actually broke 5 times. Furthermore, the position of the eggs in the pot has also been adjusted. Just by connecting them together, they can be separated with chopsticks. Hearing the chef's words, the commoners nearby gasped in admiration again. They all followed the people around them and said that the chef between the clouds and the water was amazing and so on. Wu Huifei's expression turned ugly. Using her chopsticks to pick up the egg, wasn't that right? With just a slight movement, the egg on the plate immediately divided into 6 pieces. Following the praises of the surrounding commoners again, Wu Huifei felt that she had lost face. She said, Don't you know how to add some chopped green onions to add color when you are scrambling the eggs? Look at what you made. Without chopped green onions, how can the taste be good? Yes, Your Highness is right. The chef didn't refute this time. In this aspect, everyone had their own reasons. Not adding chopped green onions was to allow the scrambled eggs to maintain the original taste as much as possible. If he added chopped green onions, then there would be an additional taste of chopped green onions. However, some people didn't like to eat eggs with chopped green onions because the taste wasn't good. Seeing that the other party didn't refute this time, Wu Huifei picked up a piece of egg and took a small bite. Her brows furrowed. Scrambled eggs. You really fried them lightly. Don't tell me you don't have any salt? You only put this little bit of salt. It doesn't taste good at all. The chef was stunned for a moment and didn't say anything. The surrounding people who knew how to eat looked at Wu Huifei in surprise. Every one of them wondered if this was Wu Huifei. Didn't she know that eating scrambled eggs wasn't about eating salt, but the freshness of the egg? Otherwise, why was she able to get it out of the pot so quickly? I don't know how you got such a high score. This dish only got a 0. Do you have any objections? Feeling that she had caught the other party's flaw, Wu Huifei directly gave him a 0. What objections could the chef have? So be it. He didn't come here to get first place. It was fine as long as he achieved his goal. After Wu Huifei said this, the commoners let out a series of boos. Then they immediately stopped, afraid that Wu Huifei would see them and have them arrested. At this time, the person in charge of the competition walked over and said to Wu Huifei, Your Highness said it very well. Then should this dish be called lightly fried? Yes, it's this light word. Wu Huifei nodded. Wei Wei nodded. Thank you, Your Highness. At this time, the chef bowed to Wu Huifei because he had achieved his goal. In the future, there would be a dish called Wu Huifei stir fry, and it would definitely be very famous. Especially since the Zhang and Wang families had a lot of eggs, there was no need to worry about not having enough. It was estimated that from today onwards, Wu Huifei's stir-fry of Shuiyan room would become famous. Wu Huifei didn't know that this chef's competition was prepared for her. They used her name to earn her living expenses in the Four Seasons restaurant. Then she started to evaluate the next dish. How could one not be able to pick a bone in an egg? The 4 dishes and 2 soups of the 2 chefs all got 0 points. These 6 dishes also got their own names. The method of making minced meat and eggplant was to cut open the eggplant and put minced meat inside. It was not the other method of making minced meat on the outside. Wu Huifei said that once the customers saw the meat, they would have preconceived ideas and wouldn't buy it. This was because the dishes between the clouds and the water all had pictures to let the customers know how they looked. Therefore, Wu Huifei gave a bad evaluation of this dish, saying that it only knew how to hide the meat inside. As a result, the minced meat and eggplant between the clouds and the water became Wu Huifei's minced meat. When eating this dish, one could even imagine whether the emperor would be angry when he heard about it. Never mind. I'll explain later. I'll earn as much money as I can. The other dishes also got their own names, all of which started with Wu Huifei. It was agreed that they would use the names of Empress Wang and Wu Huifei. Wu Huifei was very happy. As the dishes spread, her reputation would also spread. Empress Wang was also evaluating the dishes. Her opinions were very pertinent. Even if she didn't know, she would ask clearly. She named the dishes that tasted good, and left the ones that didn't. Wu Huifei, who didn't know that she was being schemed against, was still happily thinking that there would be 2 less people between the clouds and the water. When the finals came, she would think of a way to make the first place go to someone else. That would be perfect. The person in charge of the Zhang family, and the chefs here, were all amazed by the little young master. When the competition was held, the little young master repeatedly emphasized that there was no need to get first place this time. Even if they didn't get first place, between the clouds and the water would still be between the clouds and the water, especially since this was a competition held between the clouds and the water. If the first place didn't belong to between the clouds and the water, the reputation of between the clouds and the water might be better. As long as Wu Huifei and Empress Wang allowed them to use their names to name the dishes, it would be a success. Looking at the situation, now they were one step closer to success. Moreover, Wu Huifei deliberately made trouble. The people were not stupid. Especially when they were talking about the scrambled eggs, they said it was light. It was estimated that it would soon spread and become a joke. Moreover, people who went to between the clouds and the water to eat would be willing to order this dish, which was not expensive. After Wu Huifei and the others tasted the dishes and were full, the onlookers also had the opportunity to order some dishes to try. This dish was made by the best chefs in the whole of Jiangxi province. Usually, if they wanted to eat it, they wouldn't be able to afford it. Now they had a chance. After the selection of today's competition, the first 20 people who were going to participate in the finals had been selected. After Wu Huifei eliminated 2 of them, the remaining 10 people successfully passed the competition. The people also began to disperse. When they walked on the road, they didn't forget to talk to each other about today's competition. As long as they weren't stupid, they could see that Wu Huifei was deliberately making trouble for between the clouds and the water. How could a chef who got a high score for between the clouds and the water not cook good food? Moreover, there were people who had tasted it. When the scrambled eggs were put in the mouth, they were soft and fragrant. After one bite, they wanted a second bite. The remaining 8 judges also knew Wu Huifei's intention, but they couldn't cooperate with Wu Huifei. Empress Wang was there. If they really cooperated with Wu Huifei, not to mention whether Empress Wang would agree or not, between the clouds and the water would also have ideas about them. In particular, the 8 of them also wanted to maintain their reputation. Wu Huifei might not care about what she did, but if the 8 of them followed suit and made trouble, who would invite them to taste dishes in the future? Who didn't know how high the standards for choosing a chef from between the clouds and the water were? Moreover, between the clouds and the water could always produce new dishes. If none of them made it to the finals, people wouldn't doubt the ability of between the clouds and the water, but whether there was something wrong with the person who tasted the dishes. Wu Huifei, who thought that she had won by a small margin, looked at the 8 judges in dissatisfaction. She smiled and greeted Empress Wang, then returned to 4 Seasons workshop, 70% full. Empress Wang smiled and didn't say anything. Beside her, Xiao Zhu pouted on the way back and said, "Empress, why did you just watch Wu Huifei make trouble there? Look at how she picked on the dishes. I really suspect that there's something wrong with the palace chef who cooked for her. It's all because of me. Cuckoo sent me here." Of course, Wu Huifei wouldn't agree. She's taking revenge. It's a pity that she chose the wrong person. Zhang family and Wang family won't suffer for nothing. This time, Wu Huifei's name will be known, but it won't be a good reputation. Empress Wang wasn't worried that Zhang family and Wang family couldn't handle such a small matter. Thinking of Wang Wan in her heart, a smile appeared on her face. Xiao Zhu nodded. Anyway, I can't see what Zhang family and Wang family will do. At this moment, the maid from Yawang Mountain who was in charge of serving Empress Wang said to Xiao Zhu, "Little sister Xiao Zhu, you haven't eaten yet, right? Then when we go back later, I'll make Huifei stir-fry for you." Hearing this name, Xiao Zhu finally reacted. She opened her eyes wide in surprise and suddenly burst out laughing. You're so bad. I know. In the future, Huifei stir-fry between the clouds and the water will be a famous dish. Then tomorrow, shouldn't we let Wu Huifei continue to make trouble? Empress Wang also smiled. She knew that this was Wang Wan helping her again. It wouldn't be long before the people around Gongji province knew about what happened today. Wu Huifei's reputation would plummet. At least, she wouldn't be able to run away from the fact that she didn't know how to taste dishes. If she deliberately made trouble between the clouds and the water, after going back, the people in the court would hesitate when choosing a side. Who didn't know that Zhang family and Wang family were vengeful people? Good plan. This plan was well used. It was all for her and made things difficult for Cuckoo. The next day, when the final competition was held, Wu Huifei didn't let go of the chef between the clouds and the water. This time she thought of a new rule. That was there were 20 people and 10 judges. She divided the judges into 2 teams. One team would follow Empress Wang, and the other team would follow her. First, the judges would report their scores to her, and then she would make the final decision. Under normal circumstances, she could take down at least 5 people from Aqua Cloud Room. If she was lucky, she could even take down 10 people from Aqua Cloud Room. At that time, if she met someone who wasn't between the clouds and the water, she would deliberately give full marks. She didn't believe that Empress Wang would do the same. If Empress Wang had a person between the clouds and the water who got full marks, and she also had a person from another place who got full marks, they would compete again. Then, both sides would jointly give their scores. She would lead 4 people to give the person between the clouds and the water a lower score. Wasn't Empress Wang fair? That was good. No matter how bad her side was, the fair Empress Wang wouldn't give a 0. Then, after calculating the average score of both sides, between the clouds and the water would at most get 2nd place. That night Wu Huifei, who had figured this out, had a good dream. The next day, her spirit couldn't keep up. The palace maid next to her also listened to her sleep talk for the whole night. She said that the dish didn't look good, that there was too much oil and so on. It was the last day of the competition. More people came, hoping that they would be lucky enough to try the dishes that the judges couldn't finish. The 20 chefs who were going to enter the finals were also ready. During the drawing of lots, it was unknown how it was so coincidental. After Wu Huifei announced her new rules, she actually drew 9 chefs from between the clouds and the water. Only one of them didn't have a name between the clouds and the water. The chef between the clouds and the water, who was assigned to Empress Wang, was said to be the head chef of the flagship store between the clouds and the water in Sanshui County. After a round of evaluation, the 9 chefs from between the clouds and the water in Wu Huifei's team were once again degraded by Wu Huifei. Their scores were so low that all kinds of excuses that would make people blush came out of Wu Huifei's mouth. As a result, many of the dishes were given new names. The 9 chefs were very happy, and the remaining one was given full marks by Wu Huifei. The 4 judges who followed him were very helpless. Wu Huifei didn't allow them to say anything, so they could only write. After they finished writing, they gave their scores to Wu Huifei. If others didn't know, they would really think that they gave a very low score. Empress Wang also had a chef who got full marks, and it was the chef from between the clouds and the water. The head chef between the clouds and the water was indeed amazing. Even the other 9 chefs who were competing with him couldn't help but be convinced. As a result, there were 2 chefs who got full marks on the competition stage. Wu Huifei excitedly used the method she thought of last night to start a new round of evaluation. The result was needless to say. Between the clouds and the water was given a low score, while the other chef was given a high score and full marks. After the 2 rounds were averaged, the chef between the clouds and the water lost, and only got a runner-up. Wu Huifei acted as if she had done a very great thing. She personally gave the champion a trophy and asked, "Xianyu, why has this consort never heard of that restaurant of yours before? If there is a chance in the future, this consort will definitely go there and personally taste your dishes. Many thanks, Your Imperial Highness. However, this lowly one probably won't be able to stay in that restaurant in the future. After all, This lowly one is going there to help train the chefs. Once the training is done, the original Thousand Delicacies restaurant will be changed into a branch of Between the Clouds and the Water. At that time, this lowly one will return to Between the Clouds and the Water. This lowly one is only temporarily transferred over. This lowly one was originally the head chef of the restaurant Between the Clouds and the Water in Wanyan County. In the future, if your Imperial Highness wants to eat this lowly one's dishes, you can have someone call this lowly one to the palace, or the restaurant Between the Clouds and the Water in Wanyan County. This lowly one will definitely make the best dishes for your Imperial Highness. Chapter 755. As soon as the voice of the chef who won the championship fell, everyone who could hear his words widened their eyes. They didn't expect that even though Wu Huifei had suppressed Between the Clouds and the Water so much, Between the Clouds and the Water still won the championship. How could Between the Clouds and the Water come up with such a plan? Wu Huifei suddenly felt an indescribable feeling. She asked the chef in a trembling voice, "You're also Between the Clouds and the Water?" "Yes, Your Highness. However, I'm not representing Between the Clouds and the Water in the competition. I'm representing Thousand Cuisine Restaurant. Therefore, the champion this time isn't Between the Clouds and the Water, but Thousand Cuisine Restaurant. This place will soon become a branch of Between the Clouds and the Water. As long as the chef is trained, he can open a branch Between the Clouds and the Water. Otherwise, it will weaken the reputation of Between the Clouds and the Water." The chef who won the championship said respectfully to Wu Huifei. Wu Huifei wanted to say that she tasted the wrong dish just now, and wanted to taste it again. However, she considered that even if she ate it again and got rid of this person, the champion would still be Between the Clouds and the Water. Moreover, if she really did that, her reputation would be ruined. Although what she did now made others feel bad, it was all within the rules. No one objected to her rules. Wu Huifei felt like she was a person who had grown wings and flew up to the clouds. However, when she was happy, she suddenly fell down from the clouds. What a terrible fall. After thinking for a while, she smiled and said, "Not bad. I've seen the ability of Between the Clouds and the Water today. Good. When I return to the capital, I'll have someone call you. Also, I'll eat the Rui House and Savant's restaurant that also belong to the Zhang family and the Wang family. I'll not only eat there often, but I'll also recommend them to His Majesty." Wu Huifei had no choice but to say some polite words. She greeted Empress Wang with a smile, and went back with her people. At the same time, she decided not to stay here any longer. The emperor was going to leave soon, and Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were going to follow him. She just wanted to have a look and find an opportunity to make trouble for them. He was so angry that he was about to die of anger. After scheming and scheming, he was still tricked by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Revenge, he must take revenge. Wu Huifei had a smile on her face, and left with a stomach full of food. Empress Wang, on the other hand, smiled in relief. She said to Xiao Zhu, who was beside her and had her mouth slightly agape because of the ownership of the championship, "How was it? Now you know how powerful Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are, right? That's amazing. How did they think of that? They got the reputation, the first and second place. They made use of Wu Huifei, and made a lot of money. This chef's competition collects tickets. Those with good seats will pay 3 copper coins, and those with bad seats will pay 1 copper coin. Those with good seats will have a chance to taste the dishes made by the chefs. As for those that don't cost money, they can only watch from a farther place. Although the money collected is not much, according to my estimation, the money for the materials provided to the chefs has come out. The most important thing is the advertisements of the merchants here. I think we can earn back the money that we and Wu Huifei spent on coming here." In other words, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo got a reputation without a single copper coin. There are also many dishes that are named after Wu Huifei and the Empress. Xiao Zhu nodded her little head vigorously and deduced in shock. The smile on Empress Wang's face became wider. She said, "This is the ability of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. If it wasn't for the fact that I haven't learned enough, and need to wait for another 2 months, I really want to go back now. The emperor is going to Jinyang, and Xiaobao and Cuckoo are accompanying him. Let me take a good look at Cuckoo. Empress, you can't go back. We have to learn well. Otherwise Wu Huifei is very powerful. This time, she will probably go back and deal with Xiaobao and Cuckoo. I guess she will be unlucky. Xiao Zhu was afraid that the Empress would go back, so she advised her. Empress Wang was not the only one who received training here. Even palace maids like them were the same. In the past, there were people who specially trained them in the palace. Moreover, when they stayed in the palace, they learned a lot from the other palace maids. However, compared to what they learned here, it was far worse. There was a short-term training class here, which taught planning and psychology. Until now, they felt that they were much better than before. However, it was more tiring. After all, the time was short. I'm not going back. I'll wait until the emperor comes back. I don't think anyone else can participate in the canonization ceremony. It would be good if I could come. Get up, let's go back to Yawang Mountain. Empress Wang felt a little regretful that she couldn't participate in the canonization ceremony. However, she knew that this was to prevent something like the Empress from happening again. Seeing that it was over and she had to continue training, she gave the order and went back to her residence. The rest of the people were still immersed in excitement. No one expected the final result. Just when they were feeling regretful about between the clouds and the water, the champion turned out to be between the clouds and the water. This was called ability. When the 4 judges on Wu Huifei's side saw the result, they heaved a sigh of relief. If it wasn't for this, it would be difficult in the future. The group of people chatted and laughed as they left. What they talked about the most was Wu Huifei's incident this time. For a moment, they treated Wu Huifei as a joke. After all, this was Huayuan County, where Zhang Zhong used to be the county magistrate. The people were all on the side of Zhang Zhong and Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also received the news of Huayuan County very quickly. It wasn't far to begin with. Moreover, there were carrier pigeons. Xiaobao, good plan. This time, won't Wu Huifei be angry to death? However, she is coming back. I think she will participate in Li Longji's trip. I think she will make trouble for us. We have to prepare first. We can't fight a battle that we don't have confidence in. After receiving the news, Wang Wan laughed for a while. Then, she told Zhang Xiaobao that Wu Huifei was coming back. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about what Wu Huifei would do to him. He didn't have any weakness in other people's hands. At most, they would pick on him. If that was really the case, Li Longji would be annoyed. Therefore, he didn't have to worry. The only thing he was worried about was that Wu Huifei wouldn't make trouble for them. Instead, she would get close to them. I'm most afraid that Wu Huifei will want to help us. For example, if we spend a lot of money, she will help us earn it back. She also has some private money. If she invests it in the bridge or the market, she will blindly give orders and increase the bridge toll by 10 times. She will collect management fees from the market and send people to monitor the tax collection. That will be troublesome. That's right, it's really possible. That market is originally an agricultural market, so it doesn't collect taxes. It provides a channel for ordinary people to sell their products, so that the products won't rot. If it were to collect high taxes like normal businesses, then the products sold would probably be the same as the taxes. Then, who will sell their products? We have to think about it. It's best if we don't let Wu Huifei know how we are going to make money. We have to find something for her to do. Let's think about what we can do to distract Wu Huifei from our business. Wang Wan also thought about this. If it was another concubine, perhaps after losing in Huayuan County, they would immediately come back to take revenge. However, Wu Huifei definitely couldn't be taken lightly. She was a really powerful person. She believed that after losing in Huayuan County for a while, she would definitely change her methods. Most of the time, it wasn't necessary to stab someone in the back. Okay, let's think about what can divert Wu Huifei's attention. Instead of waiting for her to take action, why don't we give her a reason to do it? We can protect the good business. Let me think about what business we should give her. It can't be a profitable one, but it can't be a loss-making one. Zhang Xiaobao started to think. Wang Wan also thought about it. She understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. If they really gave her a profitable business, it would be helping the enemy. However, If they lost money, what would Li Longji think? Who would believe that Zhang Xiaobao's idea would lose money? Wouldn't it be a trap specially set for Wu Huifei? Now Li Longji had been thinking of ways to get rid of the empress. Wu Huifei was about to succeed, but she was ruined by herself. This left Li Longji without an excuse. It was a pity that Wu Huifei was destined to not be the empress. She was powerful because her surname was Wu. However, it was also because of her surname that people were afraid of another Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian, if she was born in our time, she would have gone further than now. Actually, she did a good job, but the men couldn't tolerate her. At that time, we had many foreign women as leaders. In terms of scheming, I don't think they could compare to Wu Mengyang. Wang Wan sighed. Even if she was prepared to stand on Empress Wang's side, she did not deliberately belittle Wu Huifei. A person was a person, whether it was recognized or not. This kind of person could not be treated lightly. Li Linfu was like this. He had not even ascended to a high position, but he had already shown his ability. Zhang Xiaobao disagreed with Wang Wan's words. You mean to say that all the women in our time couldn't compare to Wu Zetian? The more information flowed in an era, the less chance Wu Zetian had. That was because many men still couldn't bear to let a woman be the empress. What about foreign countries? Wang Wan asked. How would I know about foreign countries? Forget it. Let's not talk about such impossible things. I thought of a business that could be given to Wu Huifei and let her invest her money. However, the annual income would not be much. It would take at least 10 years for her to earn back her investment. Help me think about it. Seeing that they were talking about other things, Zhang Xiaobao immediately stopped and changed the topic. He pulled Wang Wan to a nearby table and began to discuss there. Before the autumn harvest in Buxing County, the commoners were busy digging trenches. This time, they were not digging small trenches. They needed to be able to pass through the middle. Even if large ships could not pass through, small cargo ships had to be able to pass through. Holding the tools given by the yamen and eating the food provided by the yamen, the commoners were topless as they worked hard in the trenches. At this time, many sections of the trenches had been dug to the depth of 2 people. However, it was still not enough. They continued to dig. The deeper they went, the harder it was to dig. This was because the trenches were already wide enough. If they continued to dig, they would need people to use baskets to lift the soil. The amount of soil produced was not small. At this time, they were only digging. Once they were done, they would need to strengthen the trenches before they could bring the water over. They would also need to leave an outlet that could lead the water to the side. This way, they would not need to spend so much effort to water the land next year. At the same time, they could also continue to plant rice. It was estimated that they would be able to plant rice early next year. It would be like wheat, sorghum, and highland barley, which could be harvested twice a year. In the past, because of the lack of water, there were not many people who planted rice. Yiwei was still doing his job. Every day, he would tell the commoners about the county's financial situation. Then, he would wander around the model tourist area, selling information that others needed. He would guide the people who came to cooperate with him to advertise and so on. He had also opened his own shop. Of the 500 strings of coins that he had invested, he had already earned back 300 strings of coins. After a while, he would be able to earn back his investment. When it became more prosperous in the future, he would be able to earn at least 3,000 to 4,000 strings of coins a year. This was much more than corruption and bribery. He did not need to take any risks. In addition, he would be able to get a piece of land in the next place he was going to. His family would not have to worry about their lives anymore. The place where the tortoises were raised was still raising them. The tortoises that were poisoned had been frozen and sent to Fengzhou. It was estimated that before winter this year, there would be a lot of livestock shipped back. Even if he was no longer the county magistrate in the future, the commoners would still remember him. Looking at the development of the county, Yiwei felt so comfortable for the first time. He rode on the horse and began to walk along the excavation area. From time to time, he stopped to ask the commoners who were working and resting if they had any ideas. If someone was willing to run a boat, He could help to get a loan to build a boat. The commoners had been used to the situation where the county magistrate did not stay in the yamen and ran around everywhere. Usually, they met Hiiwei so often that they did not feel that the county magistrate had any official prestige. When they talked to him, they were not restrained and said whatever they wanted to say. At this time, Hiiwei was asking two brothers. The two were biological brothers. They were 1 year apart in age and had married and had children. Their surnames were Gao. In Baoxing County, there were not many people with such surnames. There were more people with surnames Luo and Fu. The elder brother looked older. He was in his early 30s this year. Maybe because he always took care of his younger brother. He looked like a man in his 40s. The younger brother was much younger and liked to talk to others very much. The elder brother was called Gao Fei, and the younger one was called Gao Teng. When he heard the names, he knew that he wanted his two sons to be outstanding one day. At this time, the two had just come up from the bottom of the pit. They sat by the side and drank mung bean water. They were resting and talking at the same time. When Hiiwei came over, the two of them just nodded and didn't get up. Hiiwei was wearing a patched official's uniform. It was not that the patching was worn out. It was because he was always wandering around. So he added a layer of cloth where it was easy to be worn out. In this way, he was not afraid of wearing out the clothes. He sat beside the two brothers and looked at the people digging below. He asked the elder brother, "Gao Fei, do we have enough people at home? If we have more people, why don't we buy a boat? In the future, you two brothers can make a living on the river. During the busy farming season, you can stop and make more money." "Sir, my younger brother and I have the same idea. But we don't know how much a boat will cost. If it is expensive, we can't afford it. Can we get this from the employment fund?" The elder brother handed a bowl of mung bean water to Hiiwei and said the same idea as Hiiwei. Hiiwei thought for a while and nodded. The employment fund naturally includes this part. "I have written a letter to the capital to ask Xiaobao and Cuckoo. I expect to get a reply in a few days. I heard from Erniu that if the people who buy the boat need goods, the county will find a way to supply them in the future. But they must pay a part of the money. I think it's not bad, although you will earn more if you pay a part of the money. In fact, I think this employment fund should be given to the people in the family who don't have enough manpower to make money." In the end, Xiaobao and Cuckoo didn't agree. They said that they don't have enough manpower, and they have to farm and do other things. So in the end, this employment fund will be used on the people in the family who don't have enough manpower. After the tax is collected, a part of it will be used to subsidize the people in the county who don't have enough money. The imperial court doesn't have this rule. It is set by the county. This time, Xiaobao and Cuckoo will talk to the emperor about this matter. It's called welfare. I don't know if it will pass. If it passes, I have to tell the people who paid the tax. Otherwise, many people will feel that they should give their tax money to others for free. Yes, why should they give it to others? Shouldn't the county's income be spent on everyone in the county? Gao Fei's younger brother Gao Teng followed Hiiwei's words. He didn't understand. As the elder brother, he knew more. He thought for a while and said, "What do you know? The county's income is used on the people in the county. But Lord He, Registrar Zhang and Deputy Wang are willing to disclose the income and expenditure. Even if they don't disclose it, what can you do? How many places do you see doing this? It's okay to give it to others. Who can guarantee that nothing will happen to them in their life? There is no disease or disaster. Today we pay the tax to help others. Maybe one day we will need other people's help. Besides, why didn't we give it to you? Soon, the county will treat the people in the county for free. This part of the money can be given to people who are sick, but not to people who are not sick. Just because you are not sick, shouldn't we let the government spend this money? When you are sick and the money can't be treated, won't you regret it?" Seeing that Gao Fei was so understanding, Hiiwei was happy and said, "That's right. No one dares to say that he doesn't need other people's help in his life. The money in the government office can't be equally spent on everyone. Whoever needs it should be used first. People in a county should be united. Those who can pay more taxes are capable people." Gao Teng was speechless because he was sick a few days ago. He was treated in the clinic next to the government. The doctor didn't ask for money, and the medicine was very cheap. This was before the universal free medical treatment was implemented. Once it was implemented, there was no need to spend money anymore. Hearing what He said, Gao Fei looked forward to it. But suddenly he asked worriedly, Lord He, when you, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are all gone, will the new official listen to you? What if he is greedy for money? Will he listen? That depends on who set the rules. You know Sanshui County, right? Do you think the officials there will listen? Unfortunately, it's not possible here. We can't let the people choose, but the people can supervise and ask the officials to disclose the financial affairs. If the officials don't listen, someone will punish them. Even if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo want to protect their own face and business here, they will never allow Baoxing County to be out of their control. If they don't, they will replace them. When all the officials get used to it, it will be fine. He didn't think that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't care about the big business here. The three of them chatted happily until the two brothers felt that they had recovered their strength and went back to work. He then stood up with a smile, casually patted the dirt off his body, and prepared to go to the next place to have a look. At this time, the sound of a horse's hooves came. He looked in the direction of the sound and sighed helplessly. It's here again. I've already refused once. Why did it come here again? The person who came was Lieutenant Yin of Shinsai County. The last time he came, he wanted the rich in the county to pay for the road repair. He said that after the road was repaired, the rich would have a special road when they walked, and the others would take the other road and send people to maintain it. The money didn't need to be used up, and they could keep it for themselves. This was the so-called big business. If anyone wanted to take the road in the future, they would also have to pay, saying that it was a symbol of status. The idea was good, but He didn't agree no matter what. He didn't lack money. He could open a small shop and earn 3,000 to 4,000 strings of coins a year. When he took office in Yaozhou, there would be a lot of breeding businesses to develop. There was no need to do such a thing that would be criticized behind his back. Moreover, he had to share some of the money with Lieutenant Yen. He wasn't stupid. He didn't know why he was here today. It probably wasn't anything good. While he was thinking, Lieutenant Yan's horse came near. He got off and said to He with a smile, Lord He, I'm here again. This time is different from the last time. I went back and thought about the last time. Fortunately, Lord He didn't agree. Otherwise, it would have been easy to get into trouble. The last time was like this. If someone didn't pay and still wanted to walk on the road, too many people were needed to watch over them. Even if another person saw them, they couldn't catch them. They could only chase them. It was useless. Therefore, I don't think it's possible. He thought to himself, aren't you talking nonsense? Who doesn't know that? You're making it sound like you're very powerful. He didn't give Lieutenant Yin a good look and said to him, I wonder why Lieutenant Yin is free today? Do you have 5 things to do in the county? Nothing at all. With Lord Li and Lord Chui, I have nothing to do. Look, I thought of another way to make a lot of money last night. It's better than the last one. Oh, it's feasible, not like the last one. Lieutenant Yin didn't seem to notice He attitude, and continued to talk about the purpose of his visit with a smile. He was really annoyed. He frowned and asked, since Lieutenant Yin has so many good ideas, why don't you do them in Enchanting County? Why do you have to come to my Baoxing County? Ah, Lord He, you've asked what's on my mind. I really want to do it in Enchanting County, but Registrar Li and County Magistrate Chui don't listen to me. Also, they're both 3rd or 4th rank officials. I can't afford to offend them. Oh, it's not that I can offend Lord He. They're just officials in the capital. How would they know about local matters? Lieutenant Yan's smile immediately disappeared, and he complained to He with a face full of grievance. He didn't answer this time. He looked into the distance and stood there without moving. He didn't think Lieutenant Yin could come up with any good ideas. If he did, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would have come up with them a long time ago. Seeing that He didn't say anything, Lieutenant Yin didn't care. He moved closer to He and also looked into the distance. After a while he finally spoke. Lord He, I really do have a good idea this time. It's the matter of the river. After the river is repaired, We'll collect a sum of money from anyone who walks on it every time they come. It can't be too much. If it's too much, they won't come anymore. Think about it. This river needs to be cleaned up every year, right? For example, strengthening the embankment or cleaning up the silt, these all need people. It's perfectly justifiable to collect a portion of the money, but how much money can actually be used on the river? According to my estimates, there must be a lot of boats coming and going. This money can't be collected in the name of the yamen. We can set up a chamber of commerce. The county will hand over the work of cleaning and maintaining the river to the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce will collect tolls from people. It can be calculated based on the amount of goods or the number of times. Either way, when the time comes, we can do whatever we see fit. Lord, this idea isn't bad, right? If you want to make a name for yourself, take out more of the money you earn. Who knows how much money you collect and how much you take out? Yue really didn't know what to say. This Lieutenant Yan's brain was really good. But why did he have to use it on this? Who didn't know that there would be a lot of boats coming and going in the future? But the money needed to maintain the river. As long as there was business, they would have to pay taxes. A portion of this tax would have to be taken out. In addition, the county's commoners still had 20 days of work every year, which was just enough. Why take more money? It was crazy poor. Suddenly thinking of the Chamber of Commerce that Lieutenant Yan mentioned, Yue finally understood what was going on. He asked, "How will the Chamber of Commerce be formed?" Lord, have you thought it through? The Chamber of Commerce is simple. We can't really use other people's Chamber of Commerce. You and I will each provide a few people. This is a real business without any capital. We don't need to invest money first. As long as Lord he agrees, we'll split the profits 50-50. Not only that, the Chamber of Commerce can also find craftsmen to help unload the goods and repair the boats. Lord he just needs to give an order, and everything at the docks will be handed over to the Chamber of Commerce. No one is allowed to interfere. In the future, we'll have the final say here. Lieutenant Yan thought that Yue was tempted, so he quickly continued. Yue looked at Lieutenant Yan, as if he was looking at an idiot. After Lieutenant Yan didn't know what to do, he said, "I can do it myself. Why do I have to bring you along?" Lord it's not like that. Look, after you take all the benefits, there will naturally be people who aren't satisfied. If the people in Enchanting County aren't satisfied, you can just seal the mouth and take a portion of the money first. Do you think the boats that come and go can still pay here? I'll help you solve the problem over there. I can also deal with the local hooligans and country gentry. I have a way to make them not interfere. When the time comes, you just need to give them some benefits. I'll be in charge of everything you discuss with them. Lieutenant Yan didn't expect Yue to say something like that, so he quickly continued. Hearing Lieutenant Yan's words, Yue really admired him. He was a capable person, but unfortunately, he made the wrong decision. If he really agreed, he would offend the people in the county, and the reputation he worked so hard to build would be gone. As for the money, he would have to give out a portion of it. Lieutenant Yan could use the money to make friends with the country gentry or officials. When the time came, he would continue to be promoted. He was smart and wouldn't be worse than his previous self. It was really hard for him. Thinking about this, Yue said to Lieutenant Yan, "Lieutenant Yan, how about this? You can try the Ru River in Enchanting County first. There are always boats coming and going there, and there will be more coming here in the future. I'll cooperate with you. When the time comes, you don't need to give me half of the money, just 20% will do. I'll be in charge of persuading the people who are against it. After all, there are 4 workshops there. I think the people in Enchanting County will give this little face. I don't know when the water will be connected here, so I'm anxious. It's not like that. Didn't I say before that Registrar Li and Master Chui might not agree? I'm just a lieutenant, and I can't do anything." Lieutenant Yan didn't expect that after going around in circles, he would be involved. How could that be? "Lieutenant Yan, you worry too much. How about this? I'll go with you to talk to Registrar Li and County Magistrate Chui. You can talk to them, and I'll agree to cooperate. It'll be easier for 2 people to talk to each other." As Yue spoke, he helped to pull up the people who were tired from working below with ropes. Lieutenant Yin finally changed his smiling face and said to He, "County Magistrate He, it's fine if you don't agree. Why do you have to push me into the fire pit? I already said that they wouldn't agree, but they still insisted. Since that's the case, County Magistrate He, take care. Goodbye." After he finished speaking, Lieutenant Yin pulled the reins of the horse and jumped up. "I won't see you out." He didn't give him any face. He even dared to threaten him. After Lieutenant Yin disappeared from view, He was worried that he would cause trouble. So he also rode his horse and rushed to the yamen. He felt that Lieutenant Yin was a petty person who always had his thoughts on his side in mind. He didn't have any good ideas, so he could only write a letter to Erniu to send it to the capital via pigeon. Without waiting for the letter to be sent over, a dispatch letter was sent from Luoyang to the county. When he opened the letter, he saw that it was written by Zhang Xiaobao. It said that he wanted the people who stayed here to cooperate with the county to set up an insurance chamber of commerce and see if it would work. Although it was called an accident insurance, it wasn't an accident that happened to the people, but rather the crops in the fields. For example, if there was a drought or a flood, they would ask the people if they were willing to be insured. If they were willing, they would do their best to get more people to invest. If they weren't, they would wait until they returned. This was the first time He had heard of such a thing. After thinking about it, he felt that it was better to give it a try. He didn't know what benefits there would be. As the day of Li Longji's departure approached, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also became busier. The emperor's departure was not a small matter. The work of the guards didn't need to be managed by the two of them. But whether the roads were smooth, and whether the food, drinks, and accommodation were comfortable or not was something that the two of them had to consider. There was also the standard of reception for the officials they met along the way, as well as etiquette. Since they had accepted the job, they had to complete it. At this time, He letter arrived. After reading the contents of the letter, Zhang Xiaobao helplessly said to Wang Wan, "Little Li is really something. He arranged for someone to go over for us to clean up. And he even transferred us to the capital. How are we going to clean up? Are we going to the Imperial Palace to eat hot pot this afternoon? And we're going to eat. Should we bring this letter and show it to Little Li? I don't know what Little Li is thinking. Recently he likes hot pot. There's no chili, so why eat hot pot on such a hot day? It's better to eat some barbecue. The cooking skills of the chefs in the Imperial Palace are pretty good. We can roast a camel or even a cow. Xiaobei already said that if we eat hot pot again, we'll become the food in the pot. Little Li doesn't take care of the children, and always insists that Xiaobei and the others follow. Wang Wan was also tired of eating hot pot. During this period of time, she had already eaten it 4 times, and each time she ate it, it would take 4 hours. Xiaobei and the others ate very little, and after they finished eating, they couldn't casually run around. So they stayed by the hot pot like obedient children. There was an ice basin in the room, and there was a charcoal fire in front of them. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't feel comfortable. Zhang Xiaobao laughed twice. Easy, today's hot pot won't be so grilling. Last time, when the food was prepared, we brought it to the Imperial Palace. Isn't it just a hot pot? No one said that we had to use the most classic Beijing pot. This time, we'll use a small lattice pot to cook the skewers. The stove is long, and there's an ice basin under it. Then we'll use a curtain to block the heat, so it won't be so hot. Let's do this and bring He letter. I'm really worried that He will be tortured to the point of insanity. Of course, I'm even more worried that the person surnamed Yen will deliberately cause trouble. At that time, even if we catch him and deal with him, the gains won't make up for the losses. Our matter is the most important. As soon as he said it, Zhang Xiaobao promised his younger siblings that they would eat well today. Moreover, they wouldn't eat in the room, but under the shade outside. They could even eat while playing elsewhere. Only then did Xiaobei and the others reluctantly agree. Otherwise, they would rather give up their official position than suffer. Bringing along their tools, the little fellows wore the 7th-ranked official's uniform and majestically entered the Imperial Palace once again. The people on the streets of Chang were already used to a group of small officials strolling around when they had nothing to do. The imperial palace guards guarding the door were also used to it. They didn't check and directly let them in. The little fellows didn't have any weapons on them. The first 2 checks were only made, and they were even reprimanded once. Li Longji had been waiting for a long time. Wu Huifei had returned the day before yesterday, which made him very happy. Originally, Wu Huifei wanted to join them today, but considering that this was a meal with the officials, it wouldn't be good to have another concubine. Thus she was rejected. In any case, they would have a lot of time to eat together after this trip. A long row of food was brought over, causing Li Longji to be stunned. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's introduction, he felt that it was new and fresh. He ordered people to set up a shed outside, so that everyone could eat together. It wasn't that the outside was good, but that Zhang Xiaobao was worried that too much carbon monoxide would come out from the charcoal under the long row of stoves, which would cause poisoning. There was no need to worry about eating outside, even if there was no wind. After setting up the shed, the other food to be boiled were also prepared. Whoever wanted to eat could put the food into a small compartment and eat it when it was ready. Xiao Bei and the others didn't care about this kind of thing. They ran around the large courtyard, waiting for their brothers and sisters to help them cook. Then, they would come over and eat 2 skewers before continuing to run. Li Longji watched Xiao Bei and the others laughing in the courtyard, and was in a very good mood. After eating a few skewers, he was about to ask Gao Lishir to cook 2 more when Zhang Xiaobao took out the letter written by He Yue. Your Majesty, this subject has a letter from Baoxing County. The county magistrate Yan that you sent to Exankai County hasn't been very obedient recently. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao handed the letter to Li Longji and began to cook the skewers for his younger siblings. Li Longji took the letter in puzzlement and read it from beginning to end. After that, he didn't know what to do. That's right, he was the one who sent him. He was going to ask Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to help him manage him like they did He Yue. But now that the 2 of them were in the capital, he couldn't manage him. Lishir, what do you think? Li Longji handed the letter back to Gao Lishir. Gao Lishir glanced at it and was also worried. After thinking for a while, he said, Your Majesty, why don't we transfer him to another place first? We don't want him to do anything when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo aren't around. Even if we kill him after something happens, it's useless. Li Longji thought about Gao Lishir's words and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Xiaobao, what do you think? I think there's no need to transfer him. Just find something for him to do. For example, let him calculate how much profit the 4 workshops can generate in the shortest amount of time, how many jobs can be provided for the local people, and how much benefits can the local people get from it. Just order him to do this. Don't think that it's just a simple task. It's not easy to figure it out, especially when there's a lot of data that he doesn't know. One is to ask the people in the workshops, and the other is to calculate it himself. Don't let him be idle, or he won't be able to find the time. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want Li Longji to transfer him away, because he was going to go back after he was done with this trip. He wanted to see what the Yen guy was up to. Then we'll do as Xiaobao says. Li Longji didn't have any main purpose in this matter. He just ordered Gao Lishir to write a decree and that was it. He turned back and continued to eat. As he ate, he asked, Xiaobao, do you know what's going on in Tubo? I haven't received any news for 10 days. My people have all left. Now, they're probably waiting in Idyll for Tubo to run out of food, so that they can continue to trade with them. Does your Majesty have any new news? Zhang Xiaobao swallowed a prawn ball, looked at Wang Wan, and said to Li Longji. Li Longji shook his head. I don't have any news. I'm afraid that if Tubo really suffers a great disaster this year, not only will they not trade with us, but they will also send troops to fight to the death. Then can Cuckoo still defeat them? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly understood. So Li Longji was worried about this matter. The 2 of them looked at each other, and Zhang Xiaobao said, It's unlikely, because even if they run out of food, they still have a lot of poultry. As long as they haven't eaten all the poultry, they won't be willing to touch them. We can immediately go over to help when the locust plague is serious. First, we can transport food to them, and trade with them for poultry and good local products. Second, the locust plague is very frightening. Moreover, after this year, there might be more next year. Many of the eggs of the locusts have already entered the soil. If there are too many locusts and they fly to our great Tang, it won't be good. We can send people over to help and reduce a large portion of the locusts. We can wait until next year when the plague starts. Li Longji nodded. He felt cold towards Zhang Xiaobao's plan. It was too terrifying. He actually wanted Tubo to have a locust plague. How ruthless. If that's the case, then make arrangements in advance. Have someone send a letter quickly. Where's Xiaobei? There's a prawn here. After saying that, Li Longji took out a prawn and shouted to Xiaobei, who was running around like crazy. Chapter 756. Tubo, which Zhang Xiaobao had set his eyes on, had already been destroyed by the locusts. They were no longer worshipped as they were in the beginning. Poultry ate locusts. Hence, all the nobles and royals who raised poultry released them. Even if they would offend the gods, it was better than starving to death. Apart from releasing poultry, the slaves also made bags with sticks attached to the back to catch locusts during the day. At night, they would light bonfires to lure the locusts in and burn them to death. They were determined, but it was too late. Once the locusts formed a large scale, it would not be easy to deal with them. The food they planted would be eaten. The grass and trees would be eaten as well. Wherever they went, there would not be a single trace of green left. Some of the locusts had even flown to Jinchuan. The people who Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arranged here were also busy. Fortunately, there were not many of them. The 7,000 slaves that Han Xianfeng brought did not enter Tang directly. Instead, they stayed in this area. One reason was to let them get used to the environment. The other reason was to train them to be loyal to the Zhang family and the Wang family. There were many young and strong slaves. When the time came, they could be used to farm or form an army. In Tang, it was impossible for the Zhang family and the Wang family to raise an army of 3,000 to 4,000 people. Now they had joined the ranks of killing locusts. Fortunately, there was water and ice here. Many of the locusts that tried to fly over were frozen to death. Apart from these slaves, who would be formed into an army by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in the future, there were also the people who were farming here. If the game could not continue, the strength of these people would not be underestimated. Apart from this area, there was also Feng Province. There were not many people there, but the customs were different. When the time came, they could form an army at any time. However, Sanshui County and Shuzhou were different. They could not be too obvious there. Apart from these two places, there was Wing Province. The people there were all mountain villages. They did not have a good relationship with the local officials, but they were close to Zhangzhong. It was the same for Lu Zhou's army. Currently, Lu Zhou's army was made up of locals. If Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan needed them, he could summon them and show them what it meant to be a wolf army. The large-scale battle to exterminate the locusts began. The various Tubo nobles looked at the endless locusts and couldn't think of a better solution other than worry. They knew that this year was over again. Last year, they had been ruined by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They did not know what to do this year. Until now, they still did not know that this matter was caused by Zhang Xiaobao. They still thought that it was a real natural disaster. This time, there was no need for Zhang Xiaobao to send anyone over. Tubo was already thinking of borrowing more grain from the Great Tang. In the past, they would have just sent their soldiers. But this year, they did not dare to do so. It wasn't that they didn't want to. If the bodies of the Tubo people were as good as they were during the war last year, there wouldn't be a problem. The main thing was that after the autumn harvest last year, until now, they hadn't eaten their fill. Many of them could be slaves to the warriors. Some of them could even eat a little bit of food a day, as long as they didn't starve to death. Under such circumstances, how many soldiers could they gather? If there were tens of thousands of soldiers, it wouldn't be enough for Wang Wan to kill. The Tubo emissary had already set off, and was about to enter the Great Tang territory with a heavy responsibility. However, no one knew what would happen when they arrived. Zhang Xiaobao's side also started to make the final preparations. The ships were transferred to the capital. There were a total of 20 ships. 5 of them were the biggest ships, while the rest were medium-sized ships. Those who had the opportunity to join also joined in, including Old Man Pai and the other 2. Old Man Chang had also been contacting Zhang Juling during this period of time. He talked about what happened in the past few years, and also wanted to see his son. Li should be over there, right? I wonder if I can see him, and ask him how he is doing over there. When they were ready to set off, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of someone. It was Li Yu, the county magistrate of Changning County in Xizhou. They hadn't contacted each other for a long time. He still didn't know if Li Yu had fought with anyone over there. Wang Wan also thought of this person and said, I guess he's busy. We should be able to see him this time. Fenshui is not far from Changning County. It's just a little across the border. Li Longji has gone there. No matter what, he has to meet him, especially when he has governed over there well. How can he not show off? Send him a letter. It's a good opportunity for him to earn more money. Zhang Xiaobao wrote a letter and asked someone to send it to Li Yu on a fast horse. It was a very useful way to make money. If it was done well, he could make a lot of money. As for whether Li Yu would do it himself or ask someone else to do it, it didn't matter. As Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said, Li Yu did want to meet his uncle. However, the things in the county were not done yet. He wanted to show the emperor a very good county when he arrived. Even if it couldn't be as good as Sanshui County, it should be at least close. The roads were being repaired, the river was being dug, and the business was being done. Changning County was neither big nor small. Li Yu planned to renovate all the houses in the county before the emperor arrived. If the emperor was happy and wanted to visit, it would be good for him. In order to get more money to do things, Li Yu asked for investment in the surrounding areas. He gave a lot of benefits. If they rented land and did business here, they could be exempted from taxes for 3 years. If they were willing to invest money to help build the place, they could continue to be exempted from taxes. Some businessmen were really tempted. They brought money to do business here. In fact, there weren't many good businesses here. One was transportation, and the other was ceramics. The former was a supplement to the latter, and the latter was a blow to the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce. There were so many places, and the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce couldn't occupy all of them. They only occupied the resources of a small place, and other people might not sell all the resources to them. With the addition of other businessmen, the people of the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce couldn't bear it anymore. When the time came, even if they made different pottery, they couldn't raise the price. Without a high price, although they wouldn't lose money doing business here, they wouldn't make much money. So the 6 of them gathered together again to discuss. Should we take out 100,000 strings of cash and take more shares? Otherwise, if we continue like this, Li Yu will keep taking advantage of us. How much did we spend by renting his land and buying his mines? We can't do this anymore. President Tian said to the 5 people. The 5 of them were silent. They also realized that something was wrong, but they couldn't come up with any solution. Previously, they had used the cooperation with businessmen to get tax exemption. Not only did they not make any money, but they also lost a lot. It was clearly written in the contract that if they couldn't get tax exemption after the cooperation, the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce would have to bear all the losses of the businessmen. So many businessmen were pulled over, and they lost a lot of money, but they couldn't find a way to make up for it. Now, many businessmen were attracted by Li Yu's tax exemption, and the competition was getting more and more intense. If they couldn't come up with a useful solution, they would only help Li Yu prosper the local economy. What was the use of 10 years of tax exemption? Seeing that the 5 of them were silent, President Tian could only say, "Good plan. If we didn't get tax exemption for 10 years, we wouldn't even be able to keep our capital. We invested 50,000 strings of cash and spent a lot of money to buy a lot of resources. In the end, we can only make a little money. In the end, we pay taxes when we buy materials, and we get income when we rent the land. When the time comes for us to sell our pottery, we'll probably have to spend a lot of money on transportation. It's the same whether we get others to transport it or we do it ourselves. What I mean is take out another 100,000 strings of cash. This time, we'll collect less iron ore and more clay. We'll sign a contract with the place that digs the clay. They have to supply us first before they can supply others. Or we can take 80%, and the others will take 20%. Let the businessmen who come later have no materials to use, and we won't have to worry about them competing with us. With the 100,000 strings of cash, and the remaining 60,000 strings of cash, we'll take out 150,000 strings of cash to buy the clay. We can buy all the clay in the county in an instant, and no one will be able to get their hands on this resource within a few years. Now the 5 of them understood the president's plan. They felt that it was a good idea, and nodded in agreement. President Tian sent people to the Four Seas Academy to get the money, while he personally went to find Li Yu. When he saw President Tian's haggard appearance, Li Yu was happy, who asked the people of the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce to not cooperate properly. Since they had done it, they had to bear the consequences. Originally, he really wanted to support the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce during normal operations. However, since things had happened, they couldn't blame him for being ruthless. That was why he had taken the action of tax-free investment. In addition to this, there was also a follow-up plan. He had to force the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce to sell their shares to him at a lower price. Li Yu thought about this, and revealed a warm smile to President Tian. President Tian, you're free today? How many kills have you been burning? I'm waiting to make a lot of money. When the time comes, I definitely won't forget President Tian's help. Come serve tea. President Tian looked at the tea and melon seeds that were served. He was indeed thirsty. He took a sip and said, Lord Li, haven't we been recruiting too many people recently? Moreover, many of them are people who also burn pottery. It's not easy for us to do business. How many? I think it's okay. Moreover, I haven't exempted them from taxes for 10 years like your Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce. I've only exempted them for 3 years. If they want to exempt more, they have to pay a bigger price. In fact, the Yamen has no other choice. Even if they have to spend money now, they have to do it. President Tian also knows that for a Chamber of Commerce, monopolization is the most profitable. However, for a county, competition between merchants is the most beneficial. I'm just waiting for 3 years to collect more taxes. Li Yu was lying through his teeth. President Tian naturally didn't believe him. Although it was tax-free for 3 years, renting land was money, right? Moreover, it was the kind of land that was rented. It was land that no one cultivated. The merchants who came first looked at the map and couldn't change what they chose. If there were other people on the land, they had to help them move and compensate them. This part of the money was not small. There was also the coal, and wood used to make the kiln. This was another sum of money. For large transactions, the county wouldn't be short of taxes. The same was true for selling land. President Tian estimated that the tax revenue of Chongning County this year would be 20 times more than the previous year. In the past, there weren't so many merchants. The road was not easy to travel. Now if a merchant wanted to build a kiln, he had to build that road first. As a result, many merchants came. Li Yu only needed to pay a little bit of money to connect all the roads. This was a good calculation. This was Zhang Xiaobao's real ability. He didn't need to set up such a big plan. After thinking for a while, President Tian had to stop mentioning this matter. After all, the contract didn't stipulate that other merchants were not allowed to come. He couldn't keep the money that he was supposed to pay. Therefore, he said to Li Yu, Lord Li, the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce is going to continue to use money to increase shares. Does Lord Li agree? Increase shares just like that? I agree. Wasn't it written in the contract? How much does President Tian want to increase? Li Yu thought that it would take some time for the other party to increase shares. It was good to increase shares. He would have more money in the county. Since the money was coming, he couldn't just leave it. If that was the case, his financial staff would tell him, I want to increase 100,000 strings of coins. President Tian gritted his teeth and said the number. The main reason was that he didn't know if he could achieve his goal after investing this amount of money. If Li Yu didn't have Zhang Xiaobao behind him, there shouldn't be a problem. However, with that person around, It seemed that anything could happen. In other words, my shares will become 25%, right? Okay, if I want to invest, I will tell you. Li didn't object. This was what was written in the contract. Zhang Xiaobao had already analyzed it. Yes. If Lord Li thinks it's too little, we can give you half. President Tian was afraid that Li Yu would be unhappy, so he was prepared to lose some to monopolize the resources in the future. No, don't give me that. A business is a business. Do you look down on me? Do you think I'm a lord who will use my status to bully others? Li Yu hurriedly refused. What was the use of half? It was better to follow Xiaobao's plan. Sure enough, it would be a pity if he didn't make some money. President Tian was relieved. He casually talked about the pottery that was made over there, and didn't stay for long. He said goodbye and left. Li Yu's advisor Xiao Chong came out from behind the screen. He was holding the plan that Zhang Xiaobao had written for him. His face was full of admiration. Lord, are you going to form your own caravan immediately and go to the surrounding counties to discuss business? The people from the Millennium Chamber of Commerce are about to take action. Go, I'll leave this matter to you. Taxes, a lot of taxes. Now the county will have money. The money that my brother and Xiao Bao invested can be earned back little by little. It would be good if we could find someone else to lend money. Now, we need to use the county's money to pay for it. This is misappropriation. Even if I borrow it myself, and the people agree, I will have to find a way to compensate in the future. Fortunately, no one will blame me. Which place doesn't misappropriate? Even the imperial court is shifting. Li Yu handed the matter to Xiao Chong. He felt that it was awkward to misappropriate public funds. He didn't have this feeling when he used to misappropriate public funds. Of course, this was not for free. He needed to use a few of his own businesses as collateral. Otherwise, with the current financial situation of the Yamen, without collateral, it would be difficult to explain to the people. When Li Longji and the capital got on the ship and set out, Zhang Xiaobao's letter to Li Yu had also arrived. Li Yu opened the letter and read it. He smiled happily and said to himself, Xiao Bao is indeed Xiao Bao. He lives up to his reputation. Good, plant willows, plant a lot of them. Plant as much bamboo as you can. Then buy hay and stalks from this county and the surrounding counties. Wait for the big money. Thinking of this, he picked up the letter and read it again. The letter analyzed the future development of Chongning County. It said that as long as the merchants who invested money could earn money, they would not withdraw. This year, there might be enough other things to use. After all, the newly opened kiln needed to be tested to see how it was burned. Every kiln was different. Some were good, some were not. Naturally, the bad ones would need to be rebuilt. When all the kilns were tested and sold next year, that would be the real era of mass production. Pottery was not something that could be stored one by one. There had to be protective measures. What was the best thing to protect? Of course, it was bamboo and wicker baskets. There was also hay. There might be enough this year, but there would definitely be a shortage next year. In that case, it would be too late to prepare now. Whether it was to make money for oneself, or to help the merchants transport the goods safely away as soon as possible, it had to be prepared in advance. Willows were easy to grow. Just stick a willow branch on them, and they grew quickly. Bamboo was even more so. In addition to this suggestion, another one was for Chongning to start making honeycomb briquettes, and use them to burn. The remaining firewood could be made into thick paper. When the time came, the Zhang family and Wang family would provide a material for the paper pulp. After it was pressed, it could also be used in pottery. Li Yu read it over and over again. Every time he read it, he felt comfortable. This was a really good way to make use of the resources. After the people of the Millennium Chamber of Commerce used up the increased capital, they could earn a lot of money again. No, I have to prepare early. I have to write these things down. When uncle arrives at Fenshui, I will have something to say to him. Having made up his mind, Li Yu arranged for people to collect enough hay and plant a large number of willows and bamboos. At the same time, he began to write a report. He listed all kinds of data so that when the fleet arrived, he could speak smoothly. Zhang Xiaobao didn't know how far Li Yu could go. He didn't plan to make money in Chongning. When the fleet set off, he was arranged to be on Li Longji's ship. Xiao Bei and the others followed him. The ship went through the Chao Canal. When they reached a place where they could change channels, they would enter Finshui. It was not easy for Li Longji to come out. At first, there were many people who objected. Finally, after Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan agreed to pay, the people who objected agreed. Otherwise, it would have taken a lot of effort. As soon as he arrived on the ship, Li Longji didn't want to be bored in the cabin. He took a set of things and sat on the deck at the bow. He held a telescope in his hand and looked around. The current was following the current. When they entered Finshui River, it would be against the current. Therefore, the ship moved very fast. In addition to the guards on the ship, there were also Jinwu guards on the shore, to follow them on horseback in case there was an ambush. A day and a half later, at noon, Li Longji still went outside to sit and look at the scenery of his country. While looking, he found that there was a bridge over the river in front of him. Lisher, do you know when we got out of this bridge? Li Longji asked Gao Lisher, who was standing next to him. Gao Lisher didn't know either. He looked at it in confusion, shook his head and replied, I don't know. Who was so kind to build a bridge for us? There are quite a lot of people on the bridge. Why did we stop at the head of the bridge? Just like what Gao Lisher said, there were many people on this bridge that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. There were also people using small carts to push goods. It was more strenuous to ride a horse because the bridge would sway back and forth. It was an iron chain bridge. Gao Lisher didn't know, so he asked Luo Bin to come over. Luo Bin had gone to other places to pass on an imperial decree. He was gone for more than 10 days, so Gao Lisher thought that he would know. The little eunuch Luo Bin hurried over and looked up at the bridge in front of them. He said in surprise, Aya, it's so fast. When I passed by last time it wasn't fixed yet. The Zhang family and the Wang family are really fast. Hearing him say this, Li Longji and Gao Lisher both knew what was going on. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan probably saw that it was inconvenient to travel here, so they had people build a bridge. It was indeed very fast. In just a month, an iron chain bridge had been built. It was so comfortable to do things with money. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are really kind. This bridge must have cost a lot of money to build, right? What are the two sides of the bridge supported by? Li Longji looked carefully at the bridge, praised it, and then asked. Replying to your majesty, the two sides are supported by cement, steel bars and pebbles. This is the only way to stretch the iron chain. Even if 100 people stand on it, it won't break. In addition, I heard that in the future, there will be more maintenance, but. As Luo Bin spoke, he didn't know whether he should continue or not. He looked at Gao Lisher. Why are you looking at me? If you have something to say, just say it to your majesty. Gao Lisher glared at him. Aren't you framing me? You can't say what you have to say. Look at me, it's so infuriating. Li Longji didn't care about this small matter. He laughed and waited for Luo Bin to continue. It's just that it's not easy to travel across this bridge. It costs money. It costs 1 copper coin to cross it twice. You can buy it for a month or a year. The longer you buy it, the cheaper it is. If you don't have money, you can also use goods. For example, an egg can cross it 3 times. If you buy a goose egg, you can cross it at least 5 times. Also, why does it cost money? Where are Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? Call them over for me. Do they lack money? I've already given them money. How can an egg count? When Li Longji heard that they had to pay to cross the bridge, he was in no mood to praise Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When he asked someone to call them over, he raised his binoculars and looked carefully. Of course, there was a person sitting at each end of the bridge. They were waiting for someone to throw money into a box beside them. There were also several baskets. At this time, 2 adults were bringing a child across the bridge. They didn't pay and took out an egg and put it in the baskets. Lisher, what do you think this is? The commoners are just passing by, but they are charged. Do the Zhang family and Wang family really lack money? If the commoners spread this, their family's reputation will be ruined. They can take out so much money to build the canal and the road in Jiannan province. They even provided development funds for the villages that helped pave the road. Why do they have to charge people for the canal in the capital? Li Longji said angrily to Gao Lisher. No wonder Luo Bin was hesitant. So this was the reason. Gao Lisher also frowned. He also didn't understand. There were many people passing by. But how long would it take to earn back the money for the bridge? He couldn't answer for a while. After a while he said, "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that the people guarding the bridge are charging Xiao Bao and Cuckoo behind their backs. When Xiao Bao and Cuckoo come over, we can ask them." "Yes, ask them. Have them tell the truth." Li Longji was still looking at the people passing by on the bridge. No matter how he thought about it, he felt uncomfortable. Not long after, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came over hand in hand. "Your Majesty is enjoying the cool air here. Your Majesty, look at the bridge in front. Cuckoo and I built it when we came over. We will build more in the future, including the river that Your Majesty was going to pass by." Zhang Xiaobao pointed at the bridge that Li Longji was looking at, and said leisurely. Gao Lisher looked at the two of them and asked, "Xiaobao, tell me the truth. Is that bridge charging people money?" "Yes, it's very cheap. It only charges 1 copper coin for 2 trips. If you only go once, you'll be given a certificate. You can use it whenever you want." Zhang Xiaobao nodded and admitted. He even explained how the copper coin would be split in half. Li Longji put down his binoculars and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "You're lacking in money? What will the commoners think? Do you still want your reputation? Immediately tell the other side that they're not allowed to take money. If they've already taken money, just forget about it." "That won't do. If we don't take money, won't we be wasting money? My family isn't lacking in money. Based on the current situation, we'll need 2 years to earn back the money we spent on the bridge. At that time, a portion of the money we earn will be used for maintenance, and a portion will be used to arrange houses at the bridgehead, so that people can rest. My family isn't counting on this to make a fortune, but we can't not take it. In the future, all bridges will be like this. If it works, then we'll be building roads. Caravans will also have to pay tolls." Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about Li Longji's glare. He had to take the money. Li Longji thought that Zhang Xiaobao would immediately comply. He didn't expect him to refuse. He opened his mouth and was about to give another order when Gao Lisher said, "Xiaobao, there has to be a reason, right? Since you're not lacking in money, why are you still taking it?" "Of course there's a reason. My family isn't lacking in money. But that doesn't mean that everyone isn't lacking in money. Many merchants want to do good deeds. But once they invest the money, they'll have to pay maintenance fees every year to repair the bridge and roads. It's fine if the business is doing well. But if it suddenly goes bad, then the bridge and roads will gradually be abandoned. If they're like me and let the passers-by pay a bit of money, then even if the merchants don't have money in the future, they'll still have tolls to maintain the bridge and roads. Besides, this money should be collected. There's a boatman sitting on both sides of the bridgehead who ferries on the canal. He collects money when he ferries. Now that there's a bridge, he doesn't need to ferry anymore. He can just sit on the bridge and collect money. When the time comes, he'll have a share of the money. It's not much different from ferrying people. Without this bridge, wouldn't it cost money to take a boat? It costs even more. That's why many people would rather take a detour than pay to cross the river. It's cheaper for us, especially for those who travel frequently. It's only 20 copper coins a month and 200 copper coins a year. It's so cheap." Zhang Xiaobao was planning to charge the toll to the end. Wang Wan chimed in from the side. "Isn't that so? If we only think about doing good deeds, how can we let the merchants who suffer losses lose the ability to do it again? Xiao Bao and I are preparing to earn back the money we spent on the bridge. When we earn more money, we'll continue to use the money to repair bridges and roads. We'll gather the wealth of the world's travelers and build roads for them." This time, Li Longji didn't say anything. He didn't ask Zhang Xiaobao to cancel the toll. Instead, he thought about what the two of them said. At this time, the boat had already reached the bridge. The people on the bridge had already been cleared. What if someone spat on the bridge? Li Longji raised his head and looked at the metal chains and ropes. He felt that what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said was right. If it were another merchant who said this, he would think that he was quibbling. Were there merchants who didn't care about money? However, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said it, no one would doubt it. They really didn't lack money. Every year, they took out a large sum of money to build the infrastructure. It was impossible for them to count on collecting bridge and road tolls to make a fortune. Gao Lishur was also considering this problem. He was tempted by what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said. Yes, a merchant who didn't ask for anything in return wouldn't last long. Was there even 1 in 100 merchants? Thus he said to Li Longji, Your Majesty, if what Xiaobao and Cuckoo said is true, there will be more people who are willing to build bridges and roads in the future. Then, there will be no need to worry about Great Tang's roads not being smooth. Countless merchants will take the initiative to build bridges and roads. In a few years, there will be roads and bridges everywhere in Great Tang. Li Longji nodded. If the imperial court really had to fork out money to build so many roads and bridges, the imperial court wouldn't be able to afford it. Even if they could, they wouldn't be able to maintain it. Thinking that he had more or less figured it out, he was just about to agree when he suddenly thought of a crucial problem. He asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, Then what if many merchants build roads and bridges just to make money? Won't the wealth of the commoners be earned by them? Take this bridge of yours for example. You can recoup your capital in 2 years. I don't think anyone would build a bridge on the Yellow River, right? They won't be able to afford it, so they can only build it in a place like this. What if they deliberately raise the price? In a moment, I'll pay the taxes and write a document. As long as the road and bridge fees are earned, they will be paid to the local authorities first. However, this money will be paid directly to the capital, and the local authorities won't be able to embezzle it. In this way, it will take a longer time to recoup the capital. With such a heavy tax, it will probably take 4 years to recoup the capital. After recouping the capital, they will still have to continue paying taxes, and the transportation fees will be reduced. I'll write this clearly in the contract. When the time comes, His Majesty will be able to gather a large amount of money and use this money to do other things. Zhang Xiaobao didn't need to think too much to know how to deal with this problem. Wang Wan added, Indeed. The only problem is that no matter how good a policy is, it still needs people to carry it out. For example, concealing the truth of the matter. Once there is enough money, many officials are even willing to take the risk of being executed. Hearing the two's words, Li Longji sighed. He agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's point, but he was also worried about Wang Wan's point. That was indeed the case. Who could guarantee that the officials wouldn't be greedy? They would always have a wishful thinking, even if they knew that they could be executed. Unable to come up with a solution, Li Longji looked at Gao Lishur. Gao Lishur had his own considerations. He said, Your Majesty, you can let many officials who don't have positions walk around the place. One is to monitor whether the roads and bridges have been built, and whether they have received money. The other is to find a job for them. If someone wants to bribe them, it's also fine. Your Majesty can let different people walk around the place every half a month to see if they can afford it. You can even use this to link it to an evaluation. It's like the officials in the county supervising each other. As long as someone is found to be doing this, they can report it and get a chance to be promoted. Although it can't be completely stopped, it will definitely have a good effect. Occasionally, you can send people to check it out. When the time comes, you can kill a few to make the officials more obedient. In truth, Li Longji had already approved of this plan, but he still asked Zhang Xiaobao, Is this plan feasible? Zhang Xiaobao nodded. If we can harden our hearts and kill them, we won't have to fear that too many officials will make mistakes. What we fear is that we will corrupt them from the root. The imperial court will have to consider favors. For example, if a certain general or official who has made great contributions does something wrong, the imperial court won't be able to kill them directly. That would be the most dangerous. We have to kill them. No matter who pleads for leniency, we won't allow it. Let's try it out in the various rivers of Jiangxi province first, and see how it goes. After that, we'll promote it to the entire Great Tang. Let's start with you all. Write a plan for collecting taxes on the Iron Chain Bridge. Li Longji wasn't muddle-headed. He didn't plan to promote this plan to the entire Great Tang, but he wouldn't be satisfied if he didn't do it. How much money would that cost? If he could earn it, why wouldn't he? The national treasury was indeed much better than before, but it wasn't easy to start a war. Besides, There were many other things that needed to be done, such as the construction of the canal. Zhang Xiaobao nodded in agreement. Collecting taxes was fine, but he didn't expect to make money on the bridge. Moving forward, the true source of income was the markets on both sides of the bridge. Those were tax-free, and the imperial court wouldn't care. After resolving one of his worries, Li Longji turned to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and asked, "How many bridges can be built on the Yellow River? You all will fork out a portion, and the imperial court will fork out a portion. If it really isn't possible, the imperial court can also fork out the money. After all, your family has been spending a lot recently. That depends on what kind of bridge it is. If it's like the one on the Yangtze, it won't be possible to build it. It just so happened that someone was causing trouble over there, so a bridge was built. If no one is causing trouble over here, do you want to change the course of the Yellow River? How many things would that delay? Even though there's a bridge on the Yangtze, compared to the losses back then, the current income is too little." Zhang Xiaobao was worried that Li Longji would want to build such a bridge. How much money did he spend back then? Who would change the course of the river for no reason? Wang Wan also added, "If it's an iron suspension bridge, it's still possible. Just choose a narrow place and build it. However, compared to the canal, it will cost more money. If the imperial court isn't in a hurry, after the autumn harvest, Xiao Bao and I can raise the money to do this." "How do you raise the money?" Li Longji was still worried about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He was afraid that they would make life difficult for their families because of the money they had to fork out. "Tubo, Japan, and Xinyuan Island. Tubo is finished today. We can use food to exchange for a lot of resources. With resources there's money. Japan is waiting for the silver, or to be shipped back this time. Xiao Bao is also going to make a move. There's silver and gold over there, including Exai and Luo. The people from Exai and Luo are now playing games with Liu in Chongning County of Ciizhou. Their purpose of investing here is not pure. They want to cheat. Xiao Bao and I have given Liu ideas. Next, it's time to counterattack. Don't think of taking advantage of us for no reason." Wang Wan pointed to the west, east, and south as she explained to Li Longji. Li Longji suddenly understood. That's right, Xiao Bao is still scheming. He didn't scheme against the people of Great Tang. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't scheme against other countries. If one didn't know what Zhang Xiaobao did to the surrounding countries, it would be easy for people to think that Xiao Bao was only SOSO in terms of economy and didn't have any good ideas. It was because of this comparison that people understood that Xiao Bao or the experts of the Zhang family were thinking about Great Tang. There were many things that they couldn't do, but were unwilling to do. Thinking of this, Li Longji suddenly felt a little embarrassed. It's not good to always ask you to fork out money, right? It's fine. As long as His Majesty agrees to let us work hard to open a bank. Oh, a bank, it's fine. If His Majesty allows us to operate the bank as usual, we will take care of the bridge of the Yellow River. Zhang Xiaobao was originally worried that someone would snatch the bridge from him. Now that he had found an opportunity, it was worth it even if he had to fork out 1,000,000 strings of coins to repair the bridge. Besides, he didn't need to spend that much money. What bank? Li Longji had a vague feeling that things weren't that simple. Now that he heard Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan casually mention something, he had to think deeper. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could only selectively tell Li Longji and Gao Lishur about the bank. The purpose was to facilitate business transactions, promote economic prosperity, reduce transportation costs and risks, and at the same time, earn some money to support their families. Now that the price of cotton had risen, Xiaobei and the others hadn't made new clothes yet. After hearing this, Li Longji eliminated the previous few tasks of serving others. The one that left the deepest impression on him was to earn some money. He didn't believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were willing to fork out so much money to repair the bridge just to earn some money. Their past was still vivid in his mind. How did they get the good farm in Fengzhou? How did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each have an official? How did the east of Jinchuan and the west of Great Tang, including the desert, become Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's territory? Thus, Li Longji didn't directly agree. Instead, he said, "Let me think about this." And Fine by Go and the others, I have something to ask. Then we'll go back. We still have to cook. Wang Wan dragged Zhang Xiaobao and left. After the two left, Li Longji waited for Old Man Pai and the others to arrive. He was thinking hard about the relationship between the Yellow River Bridge and the bank. When he turned his head, he saw Gao Lisher looking at the scenery in boredom. He asked, Lisher, do you know what's going on with the bank? Why do I feel that something is wrong? Listening to them, they don't earn much. Is that true? Gao Lisher thought about it and replied, Your Majesty, I don't think it's that simple. Perhaps they can earn a lot of money, but I know that no matter how much money Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan earn, they don't spend much on themselves. Li Longji responded. At this time, Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao arrived. Chapter 757. Old Man Pai didn't hide anything and directly told him about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan setting up a bank in Baoxing County. Old Man Yao also echoed. It's said that the bank will be very useful in the future, but Xiaobao and Cuckoo didn't say anything. I've asked them twice, and they both said that we'll know when the time comes. Li Longji was now more concerned than the tolling of the bridge and Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanting to build the Yellow River Iron Chain Bridge. The tolling of the tolling had already been decided, and they just had to wait and see the results. The bridge on the Yellow River was nothing more than money. Setting up a bank was new, and they didn't know the final use of it. Lisher, can you ask them? Li Longji couldn't figure it out himself, so he sent Gao Lisher. Gao Lisher was in a difficult position, but he still seriously thought about it and shook his head. I might not be able to. Maybe Xiaobao and Cuckoo haven't perfected it yet, or else they would have said more benefits. I'll ask them later. Yao Chong suddenly said, Your Majesty, why don't we also set up a bank after Xiaobao and Cuckoo set up a bank and follow their method? No, Xiaobao and Cuckoo mean that they should set it up alone. It's best if no one else in the Tang Empire can set it up. Gao Lisher began to side with his godson. Old Man Pai also said, How is that possible? Do we have to write it down in the law? If others learn to set it up, let them do so. But the imperial court must not set it up, unless Xiaobao and Cuckoo deliberately find it and say that it can be set up. Then it can be set up in the name of the imperial court. Otherwise, it will be too late to regret once it's wrong. Li Longji understood Bai Go's words. It was because the policy was good, but once it was passed down, it was hard to control what the subordinates did, especially when faced with a large amount of money. If the executor was greedy, he could check and take it back. If he lost it, it was useless to kill him. While the four of them were talking, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also chatting while cooking. There were too many people, so it was impossible for them to specially make stir-fried dishes. 2 people prepared to make wontons. This was fast. After the stuffing was done, they used a pair of chopsticks or a small piece of bamboo. Zhang Xiaobao was in charge of the live stuffing and the dumplings, while Wang Wan was in charge of the other supplementary ingredients. It was impossible for them to make the dumplings for Li Longji that were sold at street stalls, with only some seaweed sprinkled on them, and nothing else. Swish, 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 swish. Zhang Xiaobao moved quickly and covered the room with a curtain. He asked Wang Wan, Didn't Wu Huifei send someone to look for you secretly? No, I told you when you looked for me. I don't know what she's thinking. Maybe she hasn't found the opportunity yet. I feel uncomfortable when I think of giving her the wonton I made. Should I put something else in it? Wang Wan said without turning her head. She was choosing pickled mustard greens that had been marinated for a long time. She had to use the most tender parts of the mustard greens. Zhang Xiaobao pulled down the curtain and continued wrapping the wontons. That works too. I'll make some croton powder. Then we'll escape immediately. We'll go to Luzhou and start a rebellion. Li Longji must be very troubled. I think that's a good idea. It's impossible to taste the croton powder immediately. How about we put some diamond foam in it? Wang Wan chimed in. It's better to be careful. Don't let her get anything on us. Otherwise, we'll have to spend a lot of effort to deal with her. It's troublesome. Zhang Xiaobao did not continue with the conversation. It was impossible. Why would he want to harm Li Longji? The fleet continued to move forward. After a few days, they could see people repairing the bridge on both sides of the river. When they moved forward again, they finally saw the iron chain bridge. It was just enough time. Someone was laying planks on it. The further they went, the better the planks were. When they were about to reach Chongning, there were already people walking on the bridge. In Chongning County, Liu had been preparing for a long time. He wanted to bring Li Longji to Chongning to have a look. Although Fan River did not flow through Chongning, it was still more than 10 miles away from Chongning County. Normally, the people who would welcome them along the way would be from Linfan County. If it were someone else, they would have given up when they saw the distance. However, Liu had no intention of giving up. He felt that his Chongning County was the best. Although Linfan was in the center of the province, it was not as developed as Chongning County. Currently, every family in Chongning County had a new house. The roads in the county were well connected. It would be a pity if he did not bring Li Longji here to have a look. Relying on the fact that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also on the ship, Liu had an idea. In order to welcome Li Longji, he spent 50,000 strings of coins to decorate the ready-made house. It looked like a lot, but Liu did not feel bad at all. He spent most of the money on lanterns and curtains. He gave them to the residents in the county. After the lanterns were used, he folded them and put them away. They could still be used during the new year. He changed the curtains and made a quilt cover. The people who knew why Liu had so much money were the people from the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce. In order to monopolize the supply of pottery in Chongning County, they signed 3-year supply contracts with several places in the county. They were very happy when they signed the contracts. They thought that Liu was stupid and did not think of this. In the end, they did not spend 150,000 strings of coins. They spent 120,000 strings of coins. They did succeed, at least within 3 days after the contracts were signed. They increased the local price of pottery by 50%. However, before they could be happy for a few more days, pottery from other counties came in and lowered the price by 40%. The team that transported the pottery was under Liu's banner. At that price, they signed 3-year contracts with other businessmen who wanted to open a kiln. Chairman Tian knew that the pottery was not only in Chongning County, but it was expensive to transport it from other counties. In the end, he sent people to the neighboring counties and found that the pottery was not worth a single copper coin. Liu asked people to go to the neighboring counties to discuss with the officials and build a road for them. Then he bought a place with pottery. What was most admirable was that once the road was completed, it would pass by the place where the clay was produced. In other words, Liu had spent money to build a road that was convenient for transporting clay, and he had gotten a place for free. In this way, the Yamen in Chongning County was rich, and so was Liu. The tax collected, and the profits from selling the pottery, could be used to decorate the county. At this time, Liu was waiting for the arrival of the fleet. He had sent people to check in advance. He was excited and worried. It was not that he had never seen Li Longji before, but that meeting was different from this one. This time, he was meeting with political achievements. Little Chong, you must keep an eye on the people in the county and the outsiders, especially the foreigners, including the businessmen. You can't make any mistakes. You did a good job exchanging the road for the land. You've already paid back the money you used to build the road. This time, I'll let you do it again. It's up to you whether it succeeds or not. Liu said to Little Chong, who had just returned from making arrangements in the county. Little Chong puffed out his chest and promised, "Don't worry, sir. I've already arranged for people to protect the emperor. No one will come within 1,000 steps of him." Liu felt sad when he thought of this. He had too few subordinates, only 400. He was not like his brother Li Sun, who could have as many subordinates as he wanted. It was not a problem to have a few thousand subordinates. After all, he had been adopted as the only son. Plus, he was rich, so he was treated differently. Seeing Liu in a daze, Little Chong continued, "Sir, should we find a few people to disguise themselves as commoners and put in a good word for the emperor? Well, think of a way to contact Zhang Xiaobao and ask him." Liu hesitated and said, "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey. through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.